Meeting of the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee is now in session. It's Wednesday, June 14th. It is 7 p.m. We're at the Shepherd Hill Regional Library. We will all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first order of business, Ray Chalk is going to be late, so we will just table that until he comes in this evening. So we'll go right to the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting of Wednesday, May 24th.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to add a couple of sentences. On page 3 under discussion of the handbook about the change in the honor roll. I said I was concerned about removing it, but I think we should mention that as a means of compromise, we decided to start the honor roll in the 6th grade because that's now reflected in the minutes.
Okay.
We all agree to that, correct?
Yep.
So it should show up. Okay, Sandy. And then on this next page, when we were discussing about students not getting homework when they went on vacation, we never said that we asked Mr. Chaplin to rework that sentence. Tried to pull a fast one. Yeah.
He didn't hear you.
No, you did. So just that, because it never says that he's going to work on that sentence, but that was the strong opinion of the committee, wasn't it?
Right. Yep.
Something, we had to work on it somehow.
What page again?
Page 4, the third paragraph down. I said it was not right to have students not be able to get their classwork in advance. We asked Mr. Chaplin. Mr. Chaplin was asked to rework that sentence.
Okay, everybody agree?
I have a correction. On page 6.
But before that, Elaine, Mary, did you have something
I
on
had a
Kathy?
correction on page 3, fourth paragraph from the bottom. It says more diff emotional.
Just my notes, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Elaine.
Slang that the kids use.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the word you putting in there?
It's supposed to be difficult.
I was just going to delete that whole, those were just notes that I did not delete when
Oh,
I
okay.
that sentence.
Okay.
Did everybody hear that? Okay, Elaine?
On page 6, halfway down the page, it states that I provide an opportunity to be creative in budget and finance. If we could have it read that Mrs. Rabbit asked for this to be brought to the Budget and Finance Subcommittee to see if they could find a creative alternative to funding.
Sandy, do you have that? Yes. Okay, anyone else? Okay, all in favor of the minutes? Motion carries, it's unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session of Wednesday, May 24th.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries, it's unanimous. Approval of the warrant. This evening we do have a warrant that has to be signed. Citizens Forum. Anyone this evening that would like to come forward to speak with us? Come, you can take a seat, state your name.
My name is Vicki Chewinski.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm here along with a couple of other parents. We had concerns regarding the honor roll being cut to the 5th grade. We really think that, that it's a personal goal for a lot of kids coming up. They're transitioning, becoming young adults. And we just feel that it shouldn't be taken away from all of them. I understand there are concerns with children, maybe with anxiety or something else. And I think there's maybe other coping strategies we can look at for those children, and just to take it away from the whole grade. I know that my daughter isn't currently in 5th grade and has got to see her name in the paper or, set goals for herself. And my son's not going to have that same opportunity next year. And for him, it was a goal, and he needs to be challenged. He needs to work hard. at the same time, he's also a nervous kid. Sometimes, he's going to struggle in school. He's going to be nervous of new situations, but that's part of life, learning how to cope with it, learning how to transition through it. And I just really feel that that shouldn't be taken away.
And we're going to discuss that again this evening, okay?
Okay.
And you're going to discuss it during communications, did you say, Mr. Dist?
I think at least one, if not more than one member of the committee has communications to share on
Okay.
the topic.
So we'll be discussing it this
All right.
evening.
Sounds
Okay?
great. Thank you.
you.
We appreciate your time.
Anyone else? Okay, that brings us to School Spotlight. This evening, we're honoring our district retirees, Mr. Desto.
Thank you very much, Mrs. O'Coin, and I want to thank everybody for coming, but particularly our folks who will be retiring here in, 2.5 more days of school after tonight. So I just want to read a brief statement. Particularly on difficult days, I think about the position you're in sometimes, at times with envy, but not that often. And I want to just kind of try to make a statement about the enormity of the career of an educator in general. I'll do the best I can to do it justice. The school committee is starting a new tradition this year where what we have done is asked each retiree to select a book of their choice, and which school library in the Dudley Charlton Regional School District, of course, that we can purchase that book and donate it to that library in honor of the retiree. And then I have another gift for them that they don't know is coming that I think they're going to like as well. So let me start with a brief statement. First, I want to thank our soon-to-be retiring staff members for being here tonight. Each of these people has made a different yet significant contribution to our district. When you count the years and the number of students and the lessons and the impromptu actions and the things that every staff member does on a daily basis to help kids, you come up with a truly infinite and overwhelming number of young people whom you've helped in various ways. We appreciate each and everything you've done for each and every child for whom you have done it. We're grateful for your service. We know that your schools and your respective departments or teams will miss you, but we're also happy for you that you've made it to the finish line with the prospect of finally being able to enjoy some well-earned time to do whatever you want to do, within reason. Congratulations, and I'll now recognize each of you and let everyone know your choice of book. First, Charles O'Coin, who was hired in 2003 as a teacher of special education, science, and reading here at Shepherd Hill Regional High School. Mr. O'Coin has chosen The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, and of course is donating that to the Shepherd Hill Library. Mr. O'Coin, congratulations. What I have for each retiree today, I'll read it to you. It says Dudley Charlton Regional School District, VIP Lifetime Pass. This pass entitles the bearer to free admittance to all activities within the Dudley Charlton Regional School District with gratitude for your service to our children. Now, subject to ticket availability for the Christmas show.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Mary Ann Galanti. Mary Ann was hired in 1994 at Shepherd Hill. Mary Ann is one of the people in the world who's less comfortable hearing about herself, but I'm sorry, Mary Ann, this is your moment. Again, hired in 1994 at Shepherd Hill. Moved on to Dudley Middle School when the school opened and has taught grade 8 math there ever since. I had the privilege of working with Mary Ann for 10 years myself. Mary Ann is donating A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle to the Dudley Middle School Library. Congratulations, Mary Ann. Don't lose it.
Thank you.
Don't give it to your husband. Well, he'll know. Connie Galley couldn't be with us tonight, but I'll just say a quick word about Connie. She joined the district in 1982. Of course, has been a teacher of vocal and instrumental music and the director of our show choir and our many other choral groups. Connie is donating the Silver Chalice by Thomas Costain to the Shepherd Hill Library. We congratulate Connie. Also with us tonight is Ray Guzzi. Ray arrived in Dudley Charlton with the opening of the middle school in 2000, at the same time I got to Charlton Middle School. and has taught grade 7 social studies ever since. He's been an active presence in the school, performing in some of the school musicals and so on and so forth. Ray is donating The Killer Angels by Michael Shara to the Charlton Middle School Library. Congratulations, Ray. All right, congratulations. Great job.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
J. Cass Tuttle. Jay was hired in 2001 as a teacher of music at Charlton Middle School and has served there ever since as a music teacher and as the school's band director. Jay is donating Razzle Dazzle by Rydell to the Charlton Middle School Library. Congratulations, Jay.
Thank you.
Okay, also not able to be here tonight is Joan Kelleher. Joan was hired in 1987 to teach instructional technology at pretty much all of our schools before finally settling in at Dudley Elementary in Mason Road, where she's been for many years now. Joan is donating The Birchback House by Louise Erdick to the Dudley Elementary School Library. Congratulations to Joan. Mary LaChance is right now at the DARE graduation at Dudley Middle School. She is going to join us later, so if it's okay, I'm going to hold off, and I'm going to speak about her when she gets here. And last but certainly not least is Andres Paniutu, and Andy joined us in 1990 as the district's food services manager, where he has been ever since. And Andy is donating Democracy for the Few by Michael Parenti to the Shepherd Hill Library. Congratulations, and thank you, Andy. Great political minds in the district.
I want to thank the retirees for your dedication to our district and wish you a lot of good luck in your retirement.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can I say? Just thank you so much, and, you know, we are a little bit envious, but just have fun. You've certainly earned it. There's nothing better. We've said this to our students all these years, right? We've said things when we're trying to encourage them to study or do their reports or whatever it might be, that when you work hard and you do something well, the downtime that you've earned is so sweet. And so I hope it will be sweet for you. And I also hope you won't be a stranger, and we'll see you at some shows, some games, or whatever. And remember, I've always said this, the truly great ones neither burn out nor fade away. They come back as substitute teachers. So we'll give you 6 months to a year, but hopefully we'll get you back at some point in the buildings. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will turn.
It wouldn't be rude if you had to get up and leave now. You're welcome to stay, of course. But we understand that you may have other things you prefer to do. We won't be offended. Sorry, Mrs.
Okay, no, that's fine. But I will turn it over to you to conduct the nominations, okay?
Okay. Mr. Chalk made his way in. Hi, good to see you, Mr. Chalk. Oh, okay. Let me just do that while Mary, that was quick. I'm impressed. So,
He put me first.
Oh, good. That was good of him, and we'll get you out of here quickly, and maybe you can even you probably might not want to go back, but it's up to you. So, as advertised earlier, Mary LaChance was at the DARE graduation at Dudley Middle School and unable to be here a few minutes ago, but is here now, and thank you very much, Mary and Paul and family, for being here. Mary was hired in 1994 at Dudley Intermediate School and has taught all subjects at Dudley Elementary School and Mason Road School. She also moved over to Dudley Middle School in 2000 and has been teaching science and social studies and has been just a rock for Dudley Middle School as the leader of the 6th grade. And, I will tell you personally that as principal there for 10 years, I never had to worry about the 6th grade. And I won't go any further than that. I said what I needed to say at the retirement party. But Mary, we thank you so much for your service. You weren't here when I introduced this new concept, of a VIP lifetime pass. This pass will get you into any event in Dudley Charlton for the rest of your life.
Fantastic.
Now, I want you to know that we know, Paul, we know your face. You can't use this. This is Mary's. Okay? Much as we like you, she's done the work for our students. So, subject to availability of tickets for the Christmas show. And Mary has donated The Man Who Counted, which is a collection of mathematical adventures by Malba Tahan, to the Dudley Middle School Library. Thank you so much, Mary. We're definitely bringing you back as a sub. I'm going to start recruiting June 20th.
Thank you. Can I just say something?
Of course you can.
I thought about this after the retirement party when you spoke so eloquently, and you spoke about how much I love my family, and I certainly do. But Dudley Charlton has been my family as well. And I always felt like I had a home here, and I had a family here. I've made lifelong friends here, and it's bittersweet to be leaving. Having just attended the last DARE graduation, I got a little choked up, and I was a little surprised, but Dudley Charlton is a rare district in that you all care so much about the kids and the teachers and the families, and it's a privilege to have taught here. And I feel very honored to be retiring from this district. And I want to thank you all for your support throughout the years. Some of you are new to the school committee. Some of you have been on the school committee forever.
I knew her when that, there was a year old. That's how far we go back.
Absolutely. But I just, really, Dudley Charlton is a rare district, and I thank you so very, very much from the bottom of my heart. It's been a tremendous career. I will miss it. I will visit. I don't know about subbing, but I will certainly come back and feel like home again.
Well, this is always going to be your home, so
Thank you.
we appreciate it.
Thank
Mary.
you. Mary, you're going to be missed. Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Awesome job. Thanks for hustling up here. We really appreciate it.
I run back.
I hurried so much that I left my glasses on the podium, and I had to have my partner go up and sneak behind me to get my glasses. So, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're back to the first order of business, which was to be the reorganization of the Dudley Charlton Regional School Committee. We need to reorganize and re-elect a chair, vice chair, and then follow that up with secretary, treasurer, assistant treasurer, collaborative representative, and to also vote to provide borrowing authorization. I'll explain all that as it comes up. The first order of business I have is to ask if I have any nominations for the position of chair of the school committee.
I'll nominate Pauline O'Coin.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? And as Mrs. O'Coin would say, the motion carries. It's unanimous. Congratulations, Mrs. O'Coin.
Thank you, and I want to thank the committee once again for having confidence in me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the next item is the nominations for vice chair.
Vice
Okay.
chair.
So do I have a nomination?
I'll nominate Mr. Chalk for vice chair.
Okay,
Second?
okay. Any others? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries, it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And next is the secretary, and I guess Mr. Desto wants to explain, but
Well,
we have it in your...
Yeah, you can just go ahead and do that if you
Okay.
like.
The secretary is usually the superintendent, but we will welcome nominations.
I'll nominate Greg Desto, secretary.
Second.
Okay, any others? All right, all in favor? Motion carries, it's unanimous. Treasurer,
I'll
Yeah.
nominate Melinda Ernst Tornia.
okay.
Second.
Any others? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Nothing? Okay, all in favor? All right, we have that. How about the assistant treasurer?
I'll nominate Greg Desto.
Second?
When are you going to be superintendent?
In between.
Just checking.
Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. The SWCEC rep?
I'll nominate Greg Desto.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? It's unanimous again. And now the borrowing authorization, and that's to give the treasurer authority to borrow from time to time.
There's an official statement, isn't there?
Well, the vote is, it's necessary to address any short-term borrowing needs, so what I'm asking is that the school committee vote to authorize the district treasurer to borrow from time to time in anticipation of revenue of the financial year beginning July 1st, 2017, and ending June 30th, 2018, in accordance with the provisions of the Mass General Laws, and to issue a note or notes, therefore payable within 1 year, and to renew any notes or notes that may be given for a period of less than a year. That's the statement.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, motion carries, it's unanimous. And that concludes the reorganization. And
Excuse me, Mrs. O'Coin, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Unless you want to, if you want to do subcommittees now, we can do that.
We can do
And
that.
We can also do the budget subcommittee under budget subcommittee, and we can also do the subcommittees on the 28th if the committee prefers that.
what's the committee's wishes? Do you want to do the subcommittees now?
Sure. Because technically they disband when they do elections, so you
Right.
really have to, do I
Okay.
use them?
So we're looking at the Wage and Benefits Subcommittee, which is currently, working on a few things. And then
Is
also the
Kathy and I,
Budget and
unless
Finance.
someone, we're in the middle of it, but if someone wants to do it. Okay, so Kathy and myself. And then the Budget Subcommittee, who would like that? We need 3.
Well, didn't we talk about rotating that out a little bit, or?
Yeah.
Do you still want to do it, though, for another year, the same people?
No, we had talked about.
I know we talked
Yeah.
about it, but suppose we don't
No.
get
So they don't want to do
Well,
it.
does anybody else?
Anyone else? Okay, Stephanie said yes.
Well, if you have 3, I won't do it, but if you need a 3rd person, I don't know, do you guys want to keep doing it?
I'd be willing to step back.
How about you? If you want to keep doing it, I'll just do it as an alternate like before if you want.
Why don't we flip it, and I'll be the alternate.
Oh, you want to do that? I don't care.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'll step back.
Anyone
So
else? Mary, did you want-
Stephanie,
Mary, do you
and
want it?
how about
Elaine?
Mary, do you want
You still
to?
doing
No.
it?
Stay at night.
I can't do it if it's at night.
It's fine with us. If it's in the daytime, we can all make daytime.
Well, if it's you 3.
We used to, like, Wednesday
Joe,
night.
you said you'll be an
Yeah, maybe
alternate?
the alternate, if I can.
Well, the alternate status will change if they're day meetings. I can't.
Yeah, that's
I won't
what I
be
was
any
going to
help.
say,
I
then you
won't be any
can't
help
do
to you.
that.
Yeah. But that's fine.
But
If you have a,
that-
if
I'd
you have
rather-
3,
We
you
have
do it during
three
the day, do it.
solid
If
ones.
you guys want to do some of the day,
Absolutely.
that's fine.
Absolutely.
And then there's,
Can you do
we
days,
don't,
Stephanie?
we won't have an alternate.
That's fine.
Is that fine
Yeah,
with
you
you?
went without an alternate.
We didn't have an
the
alternate
last
first
time.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
We can work around it.
Oh, in fact, I could be the alternate if you want. If you need
By the way.
Because I can go to, I don't, but if I wanted to.
So we're back to the original lineup?
Yeah, we'll do
During the day.
Stephanie,
We're coming out of retirement.
Elaine, Stephanie, Elaine, and Kathy, and I'll do the alternate. How's that?
Is it hot in here? Something.
It is.
I think
Okay?
maybe the air conditioning on. It's really hot.
He's going to poke his head in around 7:30, he said, to see if we wanted to make the
It's
put
really
the
hot
air
in
back
here.
on.
So Greg, I'll do the alternate.
Okay, so it's going to be Mrs. Reed, Mrs. Rabbit, Mrs. Caballo,
Yeah.
with Mrs. O'Coin as the alternate.
And you two don't mind that, right?
I know, that's fine.
Because
No,
I don't.
it works for me.
All
You
right.
saw how much fun it was.
Any other, that's it?
Everyone should try it.
It's not that bad.
Okay. That brings us up to communications. Mr. Desktop.
Okay. So my only communication is actually not related to the honor roll piece. I wanted to be sure to read this to the committee because I felt like it was very well crafted. And this is it's a letter from Mrs. Connie Galley. It's to myself and to the members of the school committee, where she thanks us for our invitation to attend the meeting. But she says, unfortunately, I am unable to attend because of a prior quote-unquote final music department commitment, and she's had many of them over the years. However, she wanted to take the opportunity to express my gratitude for all you've done to support me, my colleagues, and the arts in our schools. In my 35 years in this district, I have enjoyed the benefits of a supportive administration and community, from the budget necessary to equip a program and scheduling that allows the students to get the classes they want or need, to the freedom and encouragement to try new things and expand the program. I have always had the resources needed to be successful. This is something I have never taken for granted. Then she talks about the book that she donated, which I already spoke about. And she concludes with, "It has been a pleasure and an honor to teach in this school district, and I will treasure the many wonderful memories and friendships I've made on this journey." I love this sentence. "My heart and my niece and nephew remain with the Dudley Charlton Regional School District, and I look forward to spending my time and energy in new and different ways for the benefit of our students. Thank you for everything, Connie Galley." Yeah, and people really do appreciate all that the school committee has done, and they do recognize that this is a committee that really over the years has cared very much about the students. So.
And I have just one, and I know we'll have communications and we'll be discussing, so I'll just do mine first. And it is from Mary LaChance, and it's a nice note. "Thank you so much for the beautiful clock received at my retirement party. I will have a place of honor in my home. It has been a privilege to work in this district for many years. I have loved every minute, and I have made lifelong friends. And many former students have shared special memories of their time in my class. It has been a wonderful career. Thank you all for your support and for all the kind words shared by Mrs. O'Coin and Mrs. Kabbalah at my retirement party. Most sincerely, Mary LaChance." Okay, now the members. Mary.
I actually received quite a bit of feedback verbally regarding the honor roll, but also some in writing. So I'll read some of the ones that I did receive in writing. One person wrote, "As the mother of a fifth grader that has a child going into fifth grade, I think it is very disappointing that honor roll is taken away. Where is the incentive to do well?" Another person stated, "There will now be a stress for the fifth graders going into sixth grade regarding honor roll. Not everyone is good at everything. Some people excel at academics, some excel at sports, some are artists. We need to encourage that, and the students need to be able to show what they can do." Another one said, "I have graduated 2 children out of the Dudley Charlton Regional School District and have one coming up on 5th grade and never experienced stress over the honor roll. Why should it be eliminated because some students will be stressed?" And another parent stated, "This is disappointing to me as well as my upcoming 5th grader who works very hard and was actually looking forward to the honor roll program being offered to show his hard work." So in addition to these, I also received one that was a little bit more lengthy that says, "I have to say I was quite shocked to see and hear of this. I'm very disappointed to see this happen. Making the honor roll is not a requirement. I'm confused as to how this is negative. I understand the transition factors that are involved when kids go from elementary school to middle school. The workload gets heavier, they have more independence. However, the honor roll is a great motivator. It's a great sense of accomplishment for the children that make the honor roll, to feel good about the hard work they have put in. My son is a current 4th grader heading to DMS. He gets excellent grades now. That's not to say he will in middle school, but I would not want to see the honor roll taking away from the kids that achieve the grades to make it. Absolutely not." Another parent stated, "I have a current 4th and 5th grader. I know one will strive to make honor roll and the other will not be impacted either way. I don't think the stress of honor roll is the issue. I think it's the stress of middle school in general. However, with that being said, I recall the transition from Mason Road to Dudley L being stressful for some as well. I believe this is more of a transitional issue than an academic program causing stress. Many children in 5th grade are not even aware that what honors are unless it's being talked about at home or with older peers. I think taking away a program many children are proud to accomplish sets this district back and will only change the standard of what our children hold themselves accountable for."
And Mary, I did get a couple of those letters too.
I got several, and I feel compelled to start with this, and I don't know how this is going to be received, but I'm going to say it anyway. I received a number of correspondences about this, and some of them were very rude. And I want to say publicly that I can see we have no problem with passion, but this is a school district from the school committee on down. Every principal, myself, we're always willing to listen. We're always willing to talk about the best interest of the students. We don't need to be spoken to like we're poorly behaved 4-year-old children. And so I want to make that statement first. With that having been stated, I have thought a lot about this over the course of the last week or so. And I want to say that I worry maybe that in proposing a compromise to this school committee, I may have inadvertently harmed, the 100 kids who may make honor roll in a quarter in order to address another issue that may be able to be addressed in a different manner. I want to be clear on one thing, though, before I go any further. This was not an attempt by the Charlton Middle School Council or by Mr. Packard to just avoid kids feeling badly who aren't going to make honor roll or who don't make honor roll in a particular quarter. It was also about the mental health of those kids who do. And I want to caution people that every single day I talk to a high school student or high school students who are overwhelmed by their own inner drive for perfection in academics. And I just want to make sure that I put it out there that this idea, however tonight ends up, Mr. Packard and his school council had the best interest of children in mind. They weren't trying to water things down and sort of wimpify what we do as a district. What they were trying to do is almost like protect some children from that destructive inner drive that for perfection that can sort of be an enemy to them at times. So I want to make sure that I caution people to always let your children know and constantly monitor your children for to make sure that they're doing their best, but that's the best they can ever do. I tell kids, and if you've ever heard me speak at the high school, sometimes people don't understand where it's coming from. I almost always spread the message of you do the best you can, and that's the best you can do. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be as good as the guy next to you in a particular subject because you might be better at 100 other things. And so we are always just trying to find the balance between success and contentment. And think about, as adults, we are always trying to be what? Happy. And so that's what we want for our kids too. Do we want them to be successful? Yes. Do we want them to have something to shoot for? Of course we do. But we don't want it to be to their detriment that they worry about it so much that the number has to be a 95 or above. That's what I think the Charlton Middle School was trying to do. With that being stated, maybe that can be addressed a different way, and it doesn't have to be addressed by the elimination of the honor roll. And so that's what in my opinion, and I know you don't have to listen to me because you're my boss, but that's perhaps what the school committee may want to take back up tonight, is whether or not there's a different way for us to send the message that people should, we should always be monitoring our children for doing the best they can, but not at the risk of their mental health should they feel like they have to be perfect. And that's kind of, am I right, Dean? That's kind of where the heart from which this was coming.
You said it very well.
Thank you.
Mr. Besto, if you don't mind,
It's okay, Mrs. O'Connor.
What?
Okay,
I
excuse
know
me.
as a district
Can you come up?
that...
Yes.
It's just because.
Come forward. We
Sure, you know
cannot.
what, I have a cold, so I'm not as loud as I usually am, but I can get louder. I just wanted to share, so I've had 3 boys that have come through the Dudley Charlton system, and there's 10 years between the oldest and the youngest. And every child is different, and every child approaches tasks a different way. And I will tell you, 10 years ago, if we had school brains, and as a parent, I had an opportunity to go in and check to see how my son was doing in classes. That was my firstborn. I absolutely would have been in there checking grades. Well, now 10 years later, my son is a junior, and now I have this option to go in and look at how he's doing in his classes. And when I first had the ability, he came home, and he's a very laid-back kind of student. A good student, but he keeps things in perspective. And he said, "Mom, can I ask you a favor?" will you not do the school brains thing? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, will you please not go in and check my grades, because I've seen that what's happening to some of my friends. And when I asked him to clarify, he said some of his friends are so personally driven, as their parents are for them as well, in a good way. But when they don't get the grade that they expect, and they know their parents are going to see that perhaps at work before they do, he said, I have seen kids have full-blown panic attacks about, oh my gosh, I was supposed to get a 98 because I need my cumulative to be this, and my parents are going to see this, and I'm going to have... And my son said, you know, I know, Mom, that perhaps they're taking on more and my parents are going to kill me. I know they don't mean that. But to see them go through that, that's another stressor that I don't want, because you know I'm trying my best. And, you know, I said to him, as long as you're trying my best, excuse me, as long as you're trying your best and I can trust that, then if you don't want me to do that, I'll respect that. And as long as I know that your grades are what you can do, and no teacher, when I go in on parent conference, says, Mrs. Pastore, he hasn't turned in 5 homeworks, then we'll have that respectful agreement. So there's always two sides to, yes, of course we want our kids to be invested, and parents are invested, and I'm one of those parents, but for a lot of kids who intrinsically drive themselves, sometimes having less is better. So I just wanted to share that with you, because I thought it fit in nicely. What there's always that child who's going to benefit from something like that, and there's always, for many of the kids, and my sister is a teacher up here at Shepherd Hill, and she's been teaching, she taught middle school and now she teaches high school English, and she said, it's almost epidemic, the number of kids, that it's not about what we learned today. What did I get for a grade on that? What did I get for a grade on that? And she said, you know, she'll sit back and she said, guys, look at what we're learning. We're learning about characters and conflict resolution. It's not always about what's the final grade. And I find that, I just see that as a society, we've moved towards that in a lot of ways, and then you think, and what's happening to the emotional state of a lot of our kids because of it? And it's balance. Like everything else, it's balance, and you have to know your child best. And we never want to take something away from a child that's going to make that child want to succeed and have initiative. So we need to have that there, but to always be respectful that there are those kids that's going to be a hindrance, and to be on the lookout for those things. So.
And if I may, just a couple on that. Keep in mind, as we all know, that 5th and 6th graders are truly of an elementary mindset. You know, they come to us in a middle school model that we adopted some time ago, and I get the fact that they are rushing to grow up very quickly. I sit back, and as I look at where they're coming from a standards-based report card background, they've never had that opportunity to have several classes moving throughout the day, trying to get an understanding of what the middle school concept's all about. And then I step back one step further and I say, they're only 10. They're 10. They are just learning to learn. They are just learning to who they're going to become. Now, I'm all for recognizing good grades. I'll be the first person to stand up and be a cheerleader for that. I'm also all for helping kids who are on a lower end succeed and move forward and understand concepts. We brought it forth just because we thought it would be a good thing for the first stage of middle school to not have an additional layer of stress. That's why we brought it forward. My council agreed to it. We had a long discussion about it. But I also am wise enough to understand that there are two different sides to every story. So it is something that we can look at to enhance the gifted and talented, to offer more within our curriculum. It's something that I want to do. And I want to have those talks at the table about that and how we can do that within our school improvement plan. But I would say to the committee, these kids are 10. And I know you know that.
And there's two sides to the story now that we've heard, and we have more of an understanding.
So, Mrs. O'Coin, if I may, just one more thing. Just to say.
Go ahead.
I'm Nicole Messier. Work for the school district. I'm almost done. I'm a parent and a taxpayer. I work with the elementary kids in the library, so I definitely see a different age demographic than what we're talking about. I have 3 kids. One's a sophomore in high school, one's an 8th grader going to Bay Path, and one is in 5th grade. My kids have gotten a fantastic education in this district. A lot of it is self-driven. But one of the things that I recognized with listening to this issue with the honors roll is when my first 2 children went through Heritage, they had actual grades in 4th grade. So they were kind of ready to know what it meant to go from an M or an MP or you're doing great to, oh, you got an 80, oh, you got a 70, oh, you got 100. And they were kind of able to process that. So when Vincent got to 4th grade, there were no more grades. So myself as a parent, I said, how do I help him to be a better student? Because I don't have the tools to really see what's going on in school. My 2 youngest had the same 4th grade teacher, so I think they're on pretty level playing fields, completely different personalities, right? Completely different, as is my oldest. So I think that the 5th graders, like 4th graders going into 5th grade do an excellent job, and I think the district does an excellent job making sure everyone's comfortable. However, the biggest shock to them, and I said it to the 5th grade teachers on the first conference was, whoa, we have grades. What do you mean I have a grade? What do you mean I have an 82? So I think the fact that it's almost the first time that they have real grades is more shocking to their minds than being on an honor roll or not. So I don't know if maybe part of the remedy is getting them more acclimated to having a hardcore, this is how it is in 4th grade. Like I felt that as a parent that was really, really difficult to encourage them to do better. Because an MP could be, what could it be, an 85, it could be a 95, it could be a 99. And when you have a child that maybe has a tendency to not work as hard or to his potential, how do you as a parent say, go ahead buddy, you can do a little bit better, when you don't have a scale? So that was the only thing, whether the honor roll stays or goes, it's all what's within the child. Their education is going to be what they make of it. My kids have had fantastic teachers and my kids have had not so fantastic teachers, but in the end they're responsible for how they feel and what they put into their work. So that just was the only thought that I had on the honor roll. And I just wanted to, as a parent, a taxpayer, and an employee, just say
Thank you.
Thank you.
Elaine.
And if anybody wants to actually see what parents get in 4th grade, I have a copy here. So you can see how little information is actually given to parents.
Thank you.
It's definitely changed over the years.
I guess I'm gonna make some comments in perhaps a different direction and not necessarily honor roll versus not honor roll. Is much as I'm more looking to kind of get at the root cause of what we're trying to drive with this conversation. So I can see both sides of the equation, with it being an incentive for some students, and I actually had a lot of commentary in the opposite of a lot of parents that wanted the honor roll to go away and wants GPA to go away, and talking about some of the competitive nature that maybe it's not so much known in 5th grade, but in 6th grade, the 6th graders are very competitive about who's scoring and who isn't scoring. I guess my underlying concern comes down to at what point in time are we starting this internalized pressure that students are having to perform? And in the world of education, we have heard over the last couple of years a lot of feedback and a lot of comments on people complaining about high stakes testing and the pressure that we're putting on students with high stakes testing. And high stakes testing is not so different in concept than students performing for honor roll or not performing for honor roll. That aside, I guess my focus really more is what are we trying to instill in children at an elementary age? And I know the words come back to me, and Mrs. Pastore, I hear your words quite frequently. It's all about effective effort. And to some degree, are we not looking for students to internalize on their own about them working hard, doing their best effort, and they could be a C student, and that's the best that they're capable of, and that's where they're going to be, and they can be an excelling student and be an A and an A plus student. But for me, it comes down to that incentive for a student to be challenging themselves to actually become a good learner. A student that has perseverance and challenge and is looking to be open and be a good thinker and be a good participant. One of the things that we did talk about at the last meeting was looking at creating a program of alternative recognition. So I think there's a misnomer that when we were saying that we were not doing honor roll in 5th grade, that we were not looking for some other type of recognition program for students. So when all of this feedback started to come back to this decision being made, and first and foremost, every school has a school council that is comprised of parents and teachers and administration that sit down and talk about these issues. And I know principals in the past have struggled to get parent participation to school council, but these are where these conversations happen. These are where these conversations take place when we're looking at what type of policies come before the school committee. So this policy change came to us through school councils and parents and administrators and teachers sitting down and having conversations. So when I was trying to figure out where we might have gone, awry in this conversation for a topic that seems to have incited so much communication amongst parents in the district, I guess my question is when we're making these kinds of changes into the principals that run school councils, should we not be surveying our parents of our students at these points in time to get feedback and consideration as we're looking to bring policy changes forward? And maybe that's something that we need to consider going forward. But we as a committee, we sit here and we talk quite frequently about the recommendations that come to us and the consideration of the recommendations that are brought forth. We have, as a committee, have sat here over the last couple of years and have been talking about mental health issues. We sit here and we struggle with students that struggle for a lot of different reasons. Students that harm themselves through cutting and anorexia and all of these types of issues because of internalized stress. And I come back to, at what point in time do we say that this stress is starting? And maybe I'm sidetracking from the issue of do we reinstate honor roll or not reinstate honor roll, but I do listen, and I'm hearing, Mrs. Pastore, that was a realization that students feel that, and I do feel that. As much as we have students that are striving, we have students that are never going to be there that have an impact to this. I guess I challenge us as a district to see whether or not we stay with the status quo, or whether or not we look to be originators and we look to do something differently. And maybe, how we recognize students and student performance is different than the norm. I have no position really other than to not let it just, let's go back to the norm and not address the issue, because to me it's not whether or not we reinstate honor roll, it's what's the underlying issue. What are we trying to instill in our students at these early ages? It's not about whether or not we get an honor roll certificate and our name is in the paper as much as it is, are we developing in them that internalized, am I satisfied that I've done the best that I can regardless of what the outcome is? That's what I want students to be comfortable with. To set them up for something that they're not capable of achieving, or they feel like they're a failure if they don't have a 98, I think is just as detrimental. I guess that's just my opinion.
What is the superintendent's recommendation?
Strangely enough, I think that Mrs. Rabbit is not straying from the issue at all. I think she's hit on the main issue, and that is that my recommendation is that we reconsider it because nobody's wrong, but I don't think that the 5th grade honor roll is the core of the problem. I think the core of the problem is the district doing something, every district, every school, every household, doing more to be aware of children's mental health states, and this isn't to say that all children have mental health challenges. It's to say that stress brings those things on. Academics is a stress, and for kids, competition with their peers is a stress, and sometimes inadvertently we as grown-ups put that stress on our kids too. We've got to figure out a way to educate people better and help people understand how to monitor their children for these feelings. I have a son going into 5th grade as well. So this argument is pertinent to me. And in a humorous sidebar, I said, Anthony, how do you feel about if we were to not have an honor roll next year at Charlton Middle School for 5th grade? And he said, okay. I said, okay. And as I was walking away, he said, Dad? I said, yes. He said, what's an honor roll? And so I actually, of course, I hope he does extremely well. But I also look forward to the lesson that will be in it when we talk about how he didn't get 100 average and his friends might have, or whatever it might be. Those are great lessons to teach, and I want my kid and all my students to try their very best and to be happy with the results and to go home and be kids and ride their bike and have fun and have a fun life, because if we look around, we were all talking about the news today, the world is just a very stressful, seething place. So I guess the way I feel differently from how I did 3 weeks ago is that the problem is very real that was brought to the table by the Charlton Middle School principal and council. I don't know that the 5th grade honor roll, though, is the problem. I think the problem is something else. So why take that away from 100 good kids who really want to try and who it's really going to help and who look forward to it, when we can have that and still be addressing the core of the issue, which is something maybe slightly different. So my recommendation would be to reconsider it.
I'm going to make a motion that we reconsider our stand on the 5th grade honor roll.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
If I could, Madam Chair, I think I just want to address a couple of things, and I want to go back to something you said, Mr. Desto, at the beginning of this, and it's really troubling to me, and that was the tone of some of the emails that you had received. You know, what's going on right now in the country there's no healthy disagreement anymore. And I think the way to learn is through disagreement. There's nothing wrong with that. I think when it takes on this kind of vitriol, though, that really concerns me. And I think this was never intended to be punitive to those kids that strive to make the honor roll, as you said earlier. That was not the intention. The other thing is, you know, there's this other illusion here that by not having this for 5th graders, it's sort of a less of a competition or less of a drive to be successful. And I guess I would just say, knowing Mr. Packard for 25 years, I don't know if I know a more competitive man than Dean. So I know that's not the genesis of this. It was to benefit all kids, and that's how it was presented to me. I thought we did a nice job of compromising. I thought when it was originally presented as 5th and 6th grade, I said, okay, you know, let's take a look at that. And as we talked further, I thought it made sense to sort of move that a little. And I thought we did the other night, and we made just the 5th grade, and I was comfortable with that. Me personally, in this vote, I'm going to side with Mr. Packard and the council. I feel that he has a day-to-day, he's in touch, he has his finger on the pulse of what's going on in that school and kids, and I'm going to defer to the folks over there as educators and as administrators, and I'm going to side with Mr. Packard on this one. Thank you.
I think we have to realize if a kid wants to get a 98, I think they're still going to want that 98 whether there's an honor roll or not, because it's just in them to get that 98. So like you said, I don't think it is the honor roll, it's the pressure the kid puts on himself or the family. So I think having an honor roll or not really isn't going to make the kid get less relaxed. I think for those high-stress kids.
I agree.
I don't know, would it be better, another compromise, like not to have the first term or something, give them a 10-week break, or is that too confusing?
That's doable. It's not too confusing.
You know, what would that, like, at least give them a 10-week to break
Transition.
Transition
Yeah.
for those first 10 weeks, realize you go to different classes, you're going to get real grades, as opposed to the middle school, the letters. So maybe not start the honor roll for 5th grade till second quarter, even
Or
halfway.
See, I don't think that the issue is really, like Mr. Desto said, I don't think the issue is really whether or not we have an honor roll. I think it is something else. It's the whole transition from the elementary schools to the middle schools. It's moving from classroom to classroom. It's having teacher teams versus one teacher all day long. There's so much to the transition that is stressful for the child. That the honor roll, the honor roll is just there for someone to strive for if they want to do really well. And I don't even think that's even the issue. I think we're trying to shoot at a target, the wrong target, really. I think that challenging oneself and somebody striving to be their best is a good thing, and some competition is also a good thing, and not everyone is going to make it, just like not everybody should get a trophy. So, you know, to take that away from the kids that are really motivated by that, I think is wrong. And after, you know, originally when we had the discussion, you know, I was thinking, well, maybe it's not such a bad thing to get rid of it. And then I walked away from the meeting thinking, I think I made a bad decision. And I wouldn't vote that way again, because I think that it's important for kids to have something to shoot for the moon for. And those who will never attain that because of whatever reason, we should provide other things that they can attain and other reward systems for them as well. And, you know, are you making progress? Are you achieving more than you did last year? That's all good things. But I don't think we should take it away from the kids that really want to excel. And the other thing that struck me as I was listening to Mrs. Messier earlier, I was not aware that we had changed the grading system in the elementary schools to not have a grade. So I do think that that's difficult on the parents and the children, where they go from not having any grade to suddenly having grades. And I think that is a stressor.
I can tell you, I'm the superintendent, and when my child's report card comes home, I look at it with my wife and I say, okay, Mrs. Pastore, what is it, number 1 to 4 or something? So I say, oh,
Standards-based report card.
right, I know
For
that, but
teachers, it gives us so much more
yes, I agree.
information than a letter grade ever would. We have, you know, those set of standards we're working towards, and it helps us pinpoint exactly what, you know, where
Yeah,
this
it
child
makes
is.
perfect sense. My point is that I look at it and I say, okay, so he got a 3. So I say to my wife, so what's that, a B? You know, we're just all wired that way. And as I said before, I think we have to do a better job of monitoring our children, starting at home and also at school, for their stress level, because it's really, I see it a lot at the high school level, and that's been built up over many years. That didn't just immediately happen. We've really got to watch that, and it's not. But I've concluded that it really isn't the 5th grade honor roll's fault that happens. It's because if it's an inner drive, it's a family drive, it's whatever. But we've got to watch that, and that's really where the answer lies, somewhere in there.
So we have someone, the one with the green shirt, state your name.
Can you come up to the table,
Come
please?
up to the
Because
table and
we
state your
can't-
name.
People cannot hear on cable, please.
I knew you had your hand up.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, so state your name.
My name is Michelle Costa, and I'm in Charlton, and I have 2 children in the system, and it's been great. I have no complaints. I think my daughter is in AJ's class, and she and I have not even had a conversation about this. My problem with having it taken away, and I just want to, for your own edification, this was not like, we don't sit at home and push them and scream at them, what did you get? Both my kids happen to do very well without a lot of effort. And I don't say that to brag. I don't say it for any reason other than they're not on D1 soccer team. They didn't make the baseball all-stars. I mean, you're going back to 1st and 2nd grade. They had all-stars and they don't make it. They learn at that age. They didn't get picked. As a parent, I feel like it's my job as the parent to teach them the coping skills. And if you want to succeed at that, great. You know, if, you know, my daughter thinks she's going to be the first NFL quarterback. I'm not so sure about that, you know, but I'm not going to discourage her from it. But my point is that they learn from a younger age than 5th grade what they cannot achieve at this time, but it also isn't something that I teach my kids to feel badly about, and, well, geez, you better make D1 or you better make this. I don't push it for them, but it is, for me, I felt like this was a slippery slope, that we take away honor roll for the kids that really do possibly only excel at school. And I'm not saying that's my kids. I'm talking about a very large amount that I feel from my experience and from the parents and the teachers in the classrooms I've been in, that there's a large amount that we leave on the table, because when we replace the honor roll, which was explained to me yesterday, they'll replace it with social awards. I have to tell you, both my kids have like a very, very high average. They're both very kind. I mean, if I'm out of point here, please, I want the principals to tell me. They have never, between the two of them, gotten one social award, and they're in 3rd and 4th grade. And everybody says, well, that's something everybody can achieve, but I firmly believe you take away something that is like tangible for them, then they are going to sit back and they're going to be, well, I don't get picked for that, I don't get picked, because they don't have any struggles. You don't know what that child goes through at home. I have complete empathy and sympathy for all those families, but at the same time, my child's an 8-year-old too. She's a 9-year-old as well. My son is 8, my daughter is 9, and they have feelings too, just like these other kids that it was explained to me that the honor roll was taken away because many kids felt left out. And that's how it was explained to me. I mean, to hear Nicole Messier's side of it, I didn't even realize that part. I think the greatest compromise is the 2nd or 3rd quarter. And I know I'm rambling and I apologize, but my point is that my kids don't even know what I'm here tonight. They don't know anything about the honor roll. They don't, and I can guarantee you she'd say, what honor roll? But I know she can achieve it. And I know it's one thing that she's going to turn around and say, oh, I finally got some recognition. Because she's not going to go blurt it. She's not going to go Facebook. She doesn't have Facebook, but she's not going to tweet it. She's not going to do anything like that, because it's her personal thing. But she's also the kid that lets it roll. And I believe it comes from the parenting. And I know that there's a lot of kids that have a lot of stress, as you say. But I think we really, really need to push back to the parents and let them know and say to them, in all you've said, it's up to you to give them the coping skills. It's not up to us to take it away because these kids are feel left out or feeling stressed, because these kids get stressed and feel left out because they don't get chosen for anything, because they don't have that struggle. They didn't lose something that somebody else lost. They can sit still for 180 days. They don't need an incentive to do the right thing. And I feel like there's a huge amount of kids that are left out because we're so concentrated on bringing the bottom up. We forget that the kids up here need just as much encouragement and just as much recognition than anybody. I mean, everybody. My father's almost 80. He loves to get a call from his girlfriend. I mean, it's like he loves that affirmation every day, to be told, hey, I love you. And it goes back to the parenting, I think. And I just think that teachers have so much on their plate today that you can't help everybody, but to take something away because these kids feel left out or stressed. I mean, these kids have their own set. And I just want you to know that there's another side to it. And again, anybody who knows me knows I am not a bragger about my kids. I absolutely am not. I am very, very lucky. But I'm also very involved in their parenting and what they should be doing for life lessons. And I think that's where we need to go. And again, like when I had this meeting yesterday, and I couldn't articulate exactly what I wanted to say, and many people took it the wrong way, but I can tell you that 10 out of those 12 parents came up to me and shook my hand and said that they felt that they just want their kids who sit back and do the right thing every single day to get as much opportunity to make something and to be recognized for something, because it's always somebody who needs that extra boost. And again, I have empathy and sympathy for every family, for every situation. I am incredibly lucky and very blessed, but I will kick their butt if they are disrespectful or unkind. And I think we need to really push back on the parents. And only one more thing, and I promise. I hope that made sense. But one thing I did, talking about the transitions to the school systems, I came up with this idea at Heritage, and it was called Girl Power. And I thought, I said it's just going to be a coping thing, like help the kids find out what their fears are about transitioning to 5th grade. It was for 4th grade girls only. I thought I was going to have 4 or 5 kids. I ended up with 27 girls. And I can't even tell you what their fears were so easily assuaged by giving them a combo lock. One of the biggest fears was like not knowing how to open a locker. Are the 8th graders going to pick on me? A lot of it comes from their siblings telling them what they're going to do. I can't tell you, and I don't know what feedback Mrs. Pastore had, but the feedback I got from parents were, oh my gosh, I wish we had that. I wish we had that when my child did that. I also think boys need it. I think it was such a great forum to just have the girls, but I'm thinking maybe we can consider, as far as transitioning and all the stressors that you're talking about transitioning, I think we should really think about maybe as a district putting something in place where this was 4 Tuesday afternoons that I spent with these girls, and it was so amazing and so empowering. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. I never thought it was going to go as just incredibly helpful as it did. I mean, they were like, I went into it thinking if I can get rid of one of their stresses, then I'm happy. Just one thing that they're really worried about. And it was amazing. They are begging to continue it through the summer. I just think it's something that we might consider as a district to help with that transition, help them, make the suggestions, make a list. I know we have the orientation tomorrow night, and I'm looking forward to that for other tips, but it's just, I just think that that could actually help with a lot of the stress. And again, that has nothing to do with honor roll, but it was just an idea.
Thank you.
So I appreciate your time, and I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Dee.
Yep.
And while Mr. Packer's going up, I have an opportunity now to publicly thank Mrs. Costa. I actually put the Girl Power group in one of my school improvement plan highlights. She did this on a voluntary basis, and like she said, when I called her and I said, I'm pretty sure you're up to 19 girls, she was like, oh my goodness. And it was a wonderful thing for the young ladies to be able to have that experience. And that was all on her efforts and her volunteerism. So I want to thank her for that.
Thank you.
I would like to just make reference to the fact, I too would like to thank Mrs. Costa. I've had the opportunity to be part of some spirited dialogue, and I can tell you I think that as a district we're winning at this point in time because of the fact that we're having this dialogue with parents, administrators, teachers, superintendent, school committee. I think that's the seeds for growth, any way that we look at this. I would be remiss if I didn't just take a second and just say that learning has no boundaries. I want to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to soar as high as they can, to get recognized in whatever venue they're going to be great at. But the bottom line, I would say this to any parent or to any community member that wants to talk to me. We are going to be the biggest supporters of all kids, regardless of whether they make high honors, whether they're struggling, whether they're having issues with families, family at home, or people at school. We're going to be there for them. That's why we do what we do. So I want to thank everybody for the dialogue we're having here. Wherever this goes, it's going to be a better thing for everybody. So I just want to make sure I said that publicly. Thank you.
Ray.
Thank you all for all your input. And as I've been listening to this discussion, I've been writing some notes. And thank you, Mrs. Costa, because one of the things I wrote is, we've heard from teachers, we've heard from administrators, we've heard from parents, but we haven't heard from the kids. So when I hear that in the 4th grade we are asking them what their fears are, some of that stress can be controlled right there. It would be nice to know maybe midway through the 5th grade how they're handling that stress, what's bothering them at that point. What did they come into that they didn't know about, and how did they handle that, or what problems were created because they didn't know about things. So it'd be nice to somehow anonymously have a survey that kids could write down their fears or their problems, what they might be having trouble coping with, and being able to possibly recognize it that way.
That's a good idea. Good idea. So, go ahead, Joe.
No,
Did you-
I was going to ask the question, but go ahead.
Just as a final comment, regardless, I know there's going to be a vote taken on this, and whichever way it goes, I think we're amiss if we do not tackle this or follow this issue up in some other thing, because right now we're talking about the issue of whether or not we're reinstating the honor roll or not reinstating the honor roll, but the issue that's underlying is a different thing. So that's just my only comment. To have this wash away because honor roll is reinstated is not solving the problem that was brought up by the council.
Can I amend my motion to say that we
Well,
start?
I'll just have, who seconded? I'll have them to withdraw.
I'll withdraw it, 'cause I'm gonna
And
change my
Kathy, then you'll withdraw your motion. She said yes, so she'll make a
Okay,
different
I want to
motion.
amend it to say that it would start, should I say at the end of the first quarter or at the end of the first half, which you think is more realistic?
Quarter would be
Wait,
furthest.
before
Okay.
we make the amendment, right, we're going to have to, either everyone's going to agree if you're going to withdraw or you're going to make the amendment, we'll have to vote on it because maybe some will be against it, but you want to compromise now
I
to
want to
start.
change my motion. I can either amend it or you can withdraw your second. I can start over from scratch. It's up to you.
Do you want to
Wanna
amend it?
keep it the
We'll
way it
have-
I would like to keep it the way it is.
Okay. So
I don't see a benefit in.
my reason is
postponing.
listening to how they're graded in fourth grade. They have no concepts of numbers, basically. It's all, MPs and all those things. So if you gave them 10 weeks to understand this is what a 90 entails, you have to do this to get a 90, you have to do this, and rather than you get an M or a P.
Clarity.
They come in September 1st, they're going to be hit with grades that they never saw before in their life. So listening to the parents and to the staff, I didn't realize myself, it's been a long time since my kids were in the fourth grade, I didn't realize they had those grading systems. I thought that was only in the littler grades. So
Ms. LaParca
Yeah.
said she can't hear us, so
Oh,
we
you
have
can't
to
hear?
talk a
You
little
can't hear?
louder.
It's probably the air conditioning. My reason for wanting to change my motion is because I feel since these kids are coming from fourth grade without any concept of grades at all, numerical grades, if we gave them the first quarter to kind of get acclimated to what you have to do to earn an 80 or a 90, they have no idea what an 80 entails or a 95. So if they had 10 weeks where there was no penalty, so to speak, like training camp, they would know by the second quarter, I have to do this. If I want to make the honor roll, I have to do this. If I'm not going to make the honor roll, this is what's going to get grades. So that's my reason for changing it to the second quarter.
I guess I don't see a penalty at all, if the honor roll is there or not. If there isn't the concept from the child's perspective of what the honor roll is all about, then there is no stress related to
They
the
will know
honor roll.
because the teacher will say, you're not going to make the, I don't know what they say, but they would say, this is a 75. What does that mean? Well, you're not going to make first honors or second honors. They don't understand that because they've never heard it before. So that was my reason for asking.
But let's vote on this then, seeing we have.
Okay, so my motion
some
was originally
people-
to start at the beginning of fifth, to keep it the way it used to be. That was our original
Yeah,
motion.
and see if it passes. If it doesn't, then you can,
Well,
if you
see,
want to
that
make
kind of puts me in a
another.
bind because I want to change it, but you know what I mean?
She won't take it
I know,
back
okay.
or
So I voted
second.
yes.
And
What is your feeling of that?
What's the motion you're voting on?
The motion is to leave the honor roll the way it was in the past.
Right,
Starting from grade
return.
5, day 1,
Okay,
the old way.
without the 10 weeks.
Right, because my amendment is not being,
The second's not withdrawn.
the second's not withdrawn.
Okay, just reinstate.
Reinstating as it was. What do you feel?
I'm fine with that. Like I said,
Okay.
my concern is not
any
that
more
anymore. It's the other.
discussion before we take a vote?
Well, my only question is, if I vote no on this and it carries, I want to know that I am for changing.
Well,
So,
Kathy,
you know
you
what I'm
can do
saying?
this.
I can amend them.
Make the amendment
Right
and
now.
we'll vote on the
Right,
amendment
okay. so my
first, see if
amendment-
that'll
oh,
go through.
Fine. My amendment is to start the honor roll in the second quarter of fifth grade.
Okay, she's amending it, but we're
Amendment,
going to
which I
take
can
a
do.
vote on the
I have to have a
amendment
second.
first, and then it will be a motion to vote on, okay? So how many agree with what Kathy just said, the amendment? Okay? Okay, 1, 2,
Did you-
3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 are for the amendment.
So now my motion would be that starting in the second quarter of the fifth grade, we reinstitute the honor roll as it used to be.
So we have an amendment now to the original motion, okay? So, any more discussion?
I just want to say, I respect both school councils, but we have to remember, Dudley Middle School did not want this change at all. That was the original compromise. So we can't say we're not listening to the school councils, because we're trying to listen to both without causing big trouble. So that's why we're doing this compromise, basically.
Okay. So now we're taking a vote now that we're going to start the honor roll. Second quarter. Okay,
No, I think we voted on it.
the amendment won, so now
gotcha.
it's, the motion is amended.
Okay.
As Kathy has stated. So all in favor of the motion with the amendment? Okay, opposed? Okay, 5-2. So it carries. We will start the honor roll second quarter.
The 5th grade.
Okay. So that's it for the communications. Anything else? All right, we're going to go to superintendent's report. Mr. Desto.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Connor. I think that was a world record for time spent on the communications section of a meeting. I just have a couple of very quick things. The first one is just a congratulations first to our 290 Shepherd Hill students who graduated on June 4th. We're very proud of them. I also want to thank the Shepherd Hill staff really for all their work both in planning all the senior events and the graduation, but also in the many hours of work, and this would be for all our staff, K to 12, the many hours of work that went into helping those students get to that point in their lives. I included in your package for tonight a destination report for our seniors. 290 graduates, and of them, 84% will be going to college, 12% will be going to the job force, 3% joining the military, and 1% are considered non-graduates, which means they dropped out, which was a very, very small number, most of whom are working toward a GED, or they still have more credits to gain and then they will get a diploma. So very proud of those numbers. Certainly anytime you have even 1%, it's too much, but I've got to commend all of our staff, and particularly the Shepherd Hill staff and Mr. Chaplin and his people for really a job well done. Then I want to thank the Dudley Charlton Education Foundation for once again providing, this time nearly $25,000 for enrichment grants to our staff. We're enormously grateful for their continued dedication. Makes an unbelievable difference for our students. And the DCEF generally kicks off their annual appeal sometime in early fall, and it's my hope that we can invite them to a meeting around that time, as we have done in the past, to provide them with a venue for getting the word out for all the good that they do and maybe generating some support. So I wanted to publicly thank them as well. And that is all.
Thank you, Mr. Desto. That brings us to new business, school improvement plans, and the principals are here. So who is going to start first?
Okay, so if I may, Mrs. O'Coin, I think you all know this by now, but I asked the principals. First, I guess I'll thank the principals and the school councils for their work in reviewing this year's plans and setting a course for next year. I have asked them to be here tonight to report very briefly on highlights from this year, major goals for next year, just to touch upon the real major points, and then to be here to answer any questions that the committee may have. So, I'm going to ask that we begin with Mrs. Parmley and Mrs. Pacheco, which are our pre-K to 1 principals, and we'll go from there. Again, we don't need to vote on these, but it's good to hear from our principals and have them here to ask questions.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Start first? Doesn't matter. Okay. First of all, I want to thank you. I feel like I've had a great first year at Mason Road, so I appreciate having your support in that. So as we look at quick highlights for this past year at Mason Road School, I know Mr. Desto had asked us to comment on 1 or 2 highlights that we were most proud of. And so one of those for our school is I looked at the one goal that talked about the mental and emotional health of students, bringing in the safe and supportive measures in order to help children as they process through that day and being able to handle the academic pressures even at a young age. Being able to have those strategies in place, being able to give them an opportunity to kind of reset if they need to, and then get right back to learning. understanding that the children they're not cookie-cutter children, and children come a lot of times with different challenges and dynamics that they're bringing to the table. It's not just about academics, and really looking at the whole child. And so being able to give staff training this year and see it in action has been very exciting to watch how the behaviors that could have been there are not there. Because a lot of times children, when they're acting out with those behaviors, there's so many other underlying reasons and circumstances. So some of the safe and supportive strategies are just being aware and being sensitive and being able to proactively meet the needs of children where they're at. So very proud of that. Kind of sorry, does someone have a question, or do you want me to keep going? Okay. Part of that kind of piggybacking with that with Goal 2, as we looked at climate, culture, and civility, although there weren't action steps for this year, one of the things that I really felt was important was building a community and an identity within the school. So becoming the Mason Road Mighty Mustangs, just trying to give them an identity of who they are, and as together moving forward as a goal. So looking at being kids of character, providing opportunities to meet with kids as a school-wide community 2 or 3 times a month, being able to really kind of speak into their life about who they are, who they want to be. When we talk about stress, how do they handle it? How do they persevere? How do they tackle challenging tasks and things that are happening in the classroom? And how do we give them the strategies, mainly to have that growth mindset? Can they get there? Well, they can, but then how can we come behind them and support? So just being able to, as a school, really getting all staff on board and getting excited about who we are and that we're going in one direction for one cause, and that's for the children. Creating school-wide common expectations, so whether they're in one area or another, they have one teacher or another, same expectations, same common language, same growth mindset. That was very important to me to instill, that children understood that it didn't matter whether they were in gym or in the classroom, in the cafeteria, or on the bus, that we expect the same type of high expectations, and to really put that in intrinsically, not necessarily to earn constantly, but because that's who we expect them to be and we believe they can be it. So when I look at 2 main highlights, those would be the 2 that I would say I'm most proud of that has occurred this year. And looking forward to our school improvement plan for next year. And I have to thank my school council. They were just so tremendous, and they really worked so hard and gave me so much feedback as we built this plan. So as I look at Goal 1, as we talk about engagement, so one of the things that I really want to see happening at Mason Road this next year is really bringing volunteers and families and the community into the life of who we are as a school, not just for special events, but really being part of the fiber of who we are as a school body and community. So as you look through those action steps, I won't go through each one of them. There's all different ways that we're hoping to do that. The council was very creative, as were the teachers, as teaching teams got together and really, you know, I said, be creative. What can we do? How can we think out of the box? And you'll see that they came up with some great opportunities. So I'm definitely looking to see that change for next year. And then Goal 2, again, looking at culture and climate, continuing the great work that I feel like we've started this year, that foundation, and just adding to it, building in other new pieces that will just tag right on with it, with the safe and supportive, and building that strong community. I also would like to see a safe and supportive leadership team, really getting the teachers and the staff highly involved as we set course of who we want to be and how we're going to make a difference in the life of kids. And then the last goal, as we look for curriculum instruction and assessment, this year one of the things that we did that was new for Mason Road is we implemented an RTI block for first grade, and really put kids in those fluid groups if they're not living there, but just giving them opportunities to give them that real extra boost of support 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I feel like it really made a difference, helped the children to really have those gains and to hit them right where they needed. So whether they needed reinforcement or they needed enrichment and challenge, we were able to do that. And the children really looked forward to it. The teachers got very creative in how they delivered instruction. So I'm hoping to continue that. And as you look through here, again, the council and the teachers were extremely creative. They've got some terrific ideas of how we want to continue to creatively engage students so that they can make those really strong academic strides this next year. Did I get my time limit?
Thank you.
2 minutes. I'm like, whew.
I'm going to be much quicker.
Okay. Okay.
This makes me nervous.
This makes me nervous.
Any questions? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Parmalee. You know, one of the, I think my favorite thing about working in the Charlton Elementary School is the family support, and many of those family members are here. So one of the things that I was very proud of this year was one of our goals was to develop funding to enhance, repair, and replace technology within our building. And between the families and the staff, we raised $4,603 this year, which I thought was way beyond my expectations. We did that with 3 very small, quick fundraisers, and it was very successful. And so we're going to use that money. Already all of our classes have smart boards, and those were all funded by PTO families and whatnot through the years. But we're going to continue with buying some media carts, but then we're going to expand into our technology and buy some B-Bots and Osmo learning kits, which was something that Mrs. Ares, our STEAM director, came over and shared with me, and I got so excited about them and brought them around and showed them to people, and they too got excited. So I can't wait to spend that money. And then our second thing I was really proud of is our council this past year wanted us to provide more opportunities for movement within the day and just some alternatives for some of the kids who have a hard time with some of those things. So we added a second recess as an option. It was utilized, you know, in the good weather almost all the time, in the bad weather not so much, but they did a lot of movement breaks. The best compliment I can give my colleague here is that I stole something of hers. She shared with me last year about her compass room, and so I took a little bit of what she said and what we had at our school and implemented the chill zone. And the chill zone is just some place for the children to take a break. No child who's had a behavior goes to that room. It's before that. It's when they're getting upset, when they're just, you know, having a bad time. They come in with a little pass that says chill zone. They say, my teacher said I can have 5 minutes in the chill zone. My teacher said I could have 10 minutes in the chill zone. It's never more than 10 minutes. And there's bean bags in there. There's chairs for them to sit in. There's books. There's games. There's sensory toys. And that, as of May 8th, when I did the tallying, that was accessed 376 times this year by people the kids who needed a break. But was even better for it is it cut down on our discipline referrals. So we had 47 fewer discipline referrals to the office by May 8th, and I don't get a lot of discipline referrals anyway. So 47 fewer was huge, and that's because they got to have the break ahead of time. And then we also have now found 6 different alternative seating choices that students at CES can have in their classrooms, and next year I will be using a lot more money to buy that because they have been successful too. Everything from, I know it sounds crazy, laundry baskets, kids like that, to even like a little rocking chair that goes right up to the desk, and just that movement. And so our 3 goals for next year, because technology changes all the time, we're going to continue with that goal to fundraise, to keep that updated. The difference this year is I'm going to invite the STEAM director not just to come and share her enthusiasm with me, but to come to a staff meeting. She shared so much that I didn't know. I want to share that with my staff because there's things out there that we should be doing. And then another passion that I have, I sit in all the IST meetings and I hear about kids who are struggling with ADHD, And so we're going to research, educate, and implement strategies to support students with attention issues. I've already reached out to a gentleman in New York who's very well known for this, and he's offered a book choice for me, and I'm going to read it over the summer, see if I can buy it for my staff and to do a book club next year and see if we can offer support with that. And then I want to, my third goal is to enhance safety within the building as well as within the community. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice job. Thank you. Very good. You too get an A+.
Oh, thank you.
Is that an 89? Or
Yeah. They make the honor roll. They make the honor roll, right.
So if we could now, Mrs. Seibold and Mrs. Pastore. please.
And I just want to thank you. I know I had an opportunity today to thank you at some point earlier in the year. Both Mrs. Seibold and I had large class sizes this year, and your support by providing us with those tutors made all the difference to the teachers, to the children, to parents, because they had an opportunity to do some reteaching and pre-teaching. So again, thank you. And Mrs. Hughes, as she's finishing up this week, said, "Is this a job I can apply for next year?" And I said, "No, remember our goal is to keep class sizes low, Mrs. Hughes." So she said the two tutors that came in, again, were Mrs. LeBlanc and Mrs. Hughes, who loved the teaching aspect of teaching, and being able to come in and see that difference every day without that pile of work at the end. They just, so thank you very much, because that made a big difference. So I'll just comment on one from each of the three areas of the district strategic goals. So communications, community engagement, and partnership. Mrs. Pacheco and I planned our first ever collaborative STEAM night, and that happened on May 31st with Charlton Elementary School at Heritage School. I found it to be a wonderful event for parents and families, because if you had a child in Mrs. Pacheco's, at Charlton Ellen, at Heritage, you didn't have to plan, how do I get to 2 events? All events were open to all children, and most did tend toward their own grade level, but they had an opportunity if they had an older brother or sister. And we did the little bits for the STEAM, and the Ozobots have been a big thing at our school as well. So those were opportunities for the siblings to say, come and see what I do at my school, and vice versa for the youngsters. So that was a wonderful event we had. Climate, culture, and civility. Mrs. Parmalee had mentioned that we had started with, and Mrs. Parmalee had brought this resource to Dudley Charlton. We had a professional development session with all staff from the 4 elementary schools on safe and supportive schools, and how do we make sure that we are meeting the needs of all children who may be coming to school with trauma in their life, whether it be large or small, that inhibits their ability to learn. So from that safe and supportive school, we had 9 members of our Heritage School staff who participated in a full course with Lesley University. So that was a wonderful accomplishment on this year's plan, and that's actually one of my goals next year that I'll elaborate when I get to my goals for next year. And then something we had talked about, and my 4th grade teachers had worked very diligently to convince me was a good idea, was the team teaching. And I'm very global whole child, and I didn't want to ever lose the perspective that that 4th grade teacher knew the ins and outs of every child. And it took a lot of convincing, but their argument in proposing the team teaching was, many of my 4th grade teachers are very strong in one subject or very passionate, and they wanted to take their passion, and instead of sharing it with 25 children, now I can share my passion with 50 students. And what we found, and we did parent surveys, teacher surveys, and student surveys, and what we found was that the team teaching worked very well for our 4th grade students. I think they will have less of a transition to the middle school, and every single one of my 4th grade teachers will tell you that they felt they had more on-time teaching minutes, and that when they used to have their planning period, one teacher would go off and plan, and now you had a team of 2, and they said, we spent every minute of our planning period talking about children. So I felt I knew all those 50 students in and out, and I used every single minute of the instruction better than I ever had before. So I think it was a great success, and as we move towards next year, one of our teams this year, due to numbers, was a 3-person team, and that was a lot. They had 75 children between the 3 teachers, and we have a shift for next year, and one of the middle school teachers will be coming to Heritage School, so that those teams will balance out for next year. So that was one of our highlights of this year, and the surveys reflected satisfaction all around. So for next year, again, looking forward to, from our work in that Leslie course on safe and supportive schools, we've established, in addition to our instructional support team that typically focuses on academic issues that students are having and how do we support them as a school-wide team, we're also going to establish a monthly safe and supportive team and match up children that we come to once a month with worries that perhaps they're not having all their social emotional needs met at home, in their family life. How can we put a caring adult, match each one of those children we talk about in a monthly with a caring adult that will be able to look out for them? And hopefully there will be, in addition to their classroom teacher, there will be another adult that checks in with that child on a regular basis. How are you doing? How are you doing in your classwork? Just as another friendly face they can look towards. Expanding our social thinking curriculum is in our plan for next year. We use the zones curriculum where students recognize when their behavior start to escalate. And I feel as equally as important, how does my escalating behavior affect those around me? How are my peers feeling about what's happening when I escalate? How does that affect them? For a lot of our children, they don't see that correlation. So our goal next year is, my school psychologist Heather Brothers and I are going to work together with our teachers to have that be school language, so that in the cafeteria, children will know, okay, they can, when they tell the cafeteria monitor, I'm feeling like, you know, I'm in the red zone, what does that mean? So we'll have a common language for our social emotional well-being next year at the school. Again, enhance the work we've done with team teaching, and we'll have 4 two-person teams next year. And also on the academic side, Joel Restuccia, who had been the professor of the Leslie College course, hinted upon, and I think I had mentioned it when Mrs. Rawson did her art presentation, on John Hattie's work. And John Hattie talks about visible thinking and what are the strategies that teachers use in the classroom that have the highest impact on student learning. So spending some time academically in staff meetings to delve into what are the strategies that each teacher can utilize in her classroom that will have the highest impact on helping students achieve academically. So that's one of our goals for next year. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Mrs. Seibel.
So I guess there's not a whole lot for me to say because I heard a lot of recurring themes. So if I'm kind of repeating myself, it's just that I think that we all think that what we want to work on is very important for all of our elementary schools. So as far as accomplishments and what we're proud of at DES, I think one of our main ones would be that we have partnered with Central Massachusetts Big Brother, Big Sister program. They actually come to our school and are offering. This year it was just a couple of Big Brothers, but we definitely want to expand it more for next year. But we had 2 Big Brothers that came to our school and worked with the students after school during our after-school homework club program, and actually did some field trips with them to Nichols College. The Big Brothers, Big Sisters are coming from Nichols College, so that's going to be a great program. Helps them socially, emotionally, in every way. We also partnershiped with Harrington Healthcare for the first time to provide school-based services. So that means that we're, again, hitting that social emotional point and having more students being able to receive the mental health interventions that they need to support their individual needs when families, especially families who can't make it to the outside appointments. Sometimes it's very difficult to get appointments in the area, let alone that they have to drive pretty far to get to them. So offering those. We also are excited because we did purchase B-Bots and looking into increasing those critical thinking and the creative thinking of our young students, and increasing the enhancement and enhancing their engagement in their learning. As far as looking forward to the 2017 and 2018 school year, with the climate and the culture and the civility portion and the goal there, we have some things that we want to add. Again, we too did the safe and supportive class. We sent 9 people to the Leslie College course. So we are looking forward to creating a safe and supportive leadership team under the same kind of premise of meeting probably once a month to proactively promote those positive and those proactive initiatives. We're looking at also including some calming caddies for the classroom, which would just have small items, stress balls and other things that we can make that the children would have available if they're feeling anxious or upset. We're also looking at making peace places, which are very similar to their chill-out rooms or chilling rooms, but in the classroom themselves. So finding a place that's comfortable where the students can sit and relax and take some time out if they're feeling anxious. Also, we are sending some staff members this summer to advanced responsive classroom. We all use responsive classroom techniques, but this will further enhance them and make them more school-wide, as well as looking into a common language for discipline within the school and having 3 rules: responsible, respectful, and safe being the common language in every portion of the school. So what do those rules look like in every spot, including the hallway, stopping students and talking about what respectful, responsible, and safe looks like there. In the restroom, what it looks like there, what it looks like when you're entering the school office, in the cafeteria, out at the playground, all the spots where they go. I think that children feel a lot safer when they know what it means to feel safe and have that common language to use in all those places. So staff and everybody will be on board. And then in the curriculum and instruction and assessment goal, we're looking at creating a technology team to create and direct our district technology initiatives, and also allowing teachers to do some peer visits so that they can visit each other to see how they're using and how they're infusing the technology in their classrooms so that other staff members will become more comfortable with it. And the other initiative is to initiate the Google Apps and the Google Docs for all students grade 2 through 4. By doing this, we're going to get the students more used to and becoming more adept at using that technology throughout their day and using all the new technology that we're going to be adding to the classrooms. We happen to have 5 Chromebook carts at this time, so really increasing those scores because they'll be more comfortable with their keyboarding and using it for their writing most every day.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
More of a comment and just an observation. In all 4 elementary schools, everyone has instituted some element of a calming, or as you called it, a peace space, and I think that's just an indicator, going back to our original conversation, that this is starting at a very early age. And I guess I'm going to come back to beating a dead horse. The struggles we've had trying to put additional mental health support in stuff into our budget. It's just, I appreciate the creative use of space and strategies that all the principals are instituting. It's just, you know, I think it's a little sad that it's something that our kids are facing. That's just something that just hit me with all 4 of you presenting that information. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll do all secondary at once. Mr. Pear.
Well, we'll do, yes.
Mr. Pear and Mr. Packard.
Right.
And let Mr. Chaplin go it alone.
Yeah, we always do.
Okay.
I'll leapfrog them if they don't move it a minute.
And we'll miss Mr. Pear. We will miss you next year.
Well, we'll see about that.
Maybe we can still make him come and do presentations.
Yeah, I think so.
Frankly, can't think of anything I'd rather do after their graduation, so maybe I'll just come back every couple weeks. Just kidding, I'm not actually going to do this. So in terms of a handful of highlights, I suppose you could look at the highlights page, and that might help, but I'll provide a few highlights of the highlights. So incorporating at least 14 building activities a year on the Climate Culture Civility page under Goal 2, 2016-17 School Improvement Plan update. one of the real strengths of Dudley Middle, I believe, has always been and continues to be the climate that exists, and that certainly remains a priority. Each grade level has been able to incorporate 14 building activities, and it is our belief that those activities are the backbone of what creates a strong climate and culture. From the very beginning of the school year, the kids understand that they're part of a team, they're part of a community, and it is our strong belief that that helps them be successful throughout the course of the school year. Included in that is the development and implementation of grade level community service projects. Again, if you think about what it means to be a part of a community, giving back to that community of which you are a part is an enormous piece to that. And so if you look at the highlights page, and you don't have to, I'll just mention a few of the things that were done during the school year. We had many kids volunteer time at Community Harvest. We had the lip sync contest, which sounds like a fun event, and it is, but all money raised and all prizes that go to students who are winners in that contest get kicked back to various charities, generally charities selected by the student groups. The Mummy Mile, again, great activity, great event, but all money raised for that, and generally the prize money that is won by the participants gets kicked back to a local charity. Student versus staff and the student 5-on-5 basketball tournament. That, again, it's a great activity, fun event for the kids, but all the money raised for that goes to the American Cancer Society. We have students every other week going to the Mustard Seed to volunteer their time in Worcester. Great eye-opening experience for kids in the 7th grade. No better eye-opening experience for kids in the 7th grade than that. We have many, many kids who volunteer their time in the spring at the Special Olympics. We had almost 50 kids this year go to the Walk for Hunger in Boston and walk 20 miles on a nice spring afternoon, one of the very few nice spring afternoons this year. We have kids every other week, once again, that go to the Webster Dudley Food Share. And then, as many of you know and maybe have seen, we also do our large Team Turkey Teacher Drive, food drive. We literally fill up a box truck and send it, and the gentleman who runs the Webster Dudley Food Share has indicated at this point it's become such a tradition that they've come to count on that for a significant portion of the food that they provide to families through the holiday season. So that's a tremendous event, and the kids really get into that. Another great opportunity, they bring the food there themselves. They don't actually drive the box truck. We let an adult do that. But the kids unload the truck and interact with the gentleman from the food share, and he is very, very grateful for that. As many of you know, we participate in the U Inc. Adopt a Child for Christmas project, and that is, again, a tremendous event. And so one of the great things about Dudley Middle is the community that exists, and I really, really believe it's the team building, it's the community service projects that give the kids a sense as to the community that they belong to. Allows them to have a little bit of a greater purpose than just showing up and doing some math, doing some English language arts. So that's certainly something I would like to highlight. On a completely different note, this year we implemented recess at all 4 grade levels for the first time. We weren't really sure how it was going to go, particularly with the older kids, the 8th graders, whether they would think they were too cool or just not know how to play appropriately at that age. But it was really, really a great addition to our daily schedule. We've tacked it on to the end of lunch, so while it's not nearly as long as we want it to be, we've been able to incorporate about anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes a day for them to be able to run around outside. And we were really stunned at the very few number of days where we had to cancel it. We don't have an indoor space that would allow us to have recess in any meaningful way. And so we were sort of thinking we would have to bag it from mid-December to mid-March. But even with the lousy spring we've had with the weather, we've canceled recess very, very few times. The kids are eager to go out. The teachers have been eager to go out with them. And so they air it out for those 10 to 15 minutes every day. And, you know, certainly it's a little bit of a chore to get them back to learning mode once they come back into the building, but we've found that it's been a really welcome addition. The teachers have been really supportive and able to give a little bit of their time in order to monitor that activity, and Mr. Sturgis, the assistant principal's out there all 4 recesses every day, and so he's bared the brunt of that duty, but it's really, really been well worth it. So those are the highlights. Certainly there are many more that I could allude to. I missed actually one of the community service projects that was very, very recent. It's not on here because we just did it, and that was the bow tie day for esophageal cancer. We had two students whose father passed away last spring right around this time from esophageal cancer. So we joined forces with the Lions Club, of which he was a member, the Southbridge chapter of the Lions Club. And so through just a one-day effort, we were able to raise over $1,500 to donate to the cause for esophageal cancer. And if you didn't know Mr. Sansucci, great guy, his wife, wonderful lady, both kids, wonderful kids. So we were really, really pleased, and we got a great picture outside on the field with all 600 kids out on the field in their bow ties with probably about 20 members of the Lions Club, and so that was another great opportunity. And again, just sense of community, larger purpose, we believe is as important as ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. Although those things don't show up on MCAS scores, as you know, we do believe those are important lifelong lessons for kids. In terms of moving forward to next year, certainly Mrs. Seibold mentioned her partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters that kicked off this year. We're going to be participating in that program next year. We've communicated with that organization. They reached out to us this spring. We have a number of kids who are just very disenchanted. They don't have the opportunity to really think future, and so we think this will provide them with that opportunity at an integral part of their lives where they're either buying in or not buying in. So if we can tap into that resource, that would be great. This year we began a pilot program with Nichols College, getting a little a mentor program with Nichols College students. I don't know if you know Mrs. Boggio, Dean of Students up at Nichols College, but she's terrific, and she has worked with us very, very well this year to set the stage for that program to really take off next year. And so we'll get some Nichols College kids down on a weekly basis. They'll participate in the intramural program, homework club, and then in any other way they meaningfully can. And with that, our hope is to get some of our more disillusioned 7th and 8th graders thinking down the road towards college, something that many of them don't even consider as a possibility. And so if we can hook them into that thought now, and even just understanding that there's a really good college right up the street. You don't have to go far. You don't have to live on campus. You can just get good grades here in Dudley, Charlton, and then go on to a good college. We think that might be able to make an impact. And if we can hook 1, 2, 3, 4 more kids into that line of thinking, we'll feel as though that's been a tremendous success. And then in terms of things for next year that I think will be a major upgrade is that we're going to be able to, based on the monies that were allotted through Mr. Matthew, I presume, equip each teaching space with a projector and an associated device. For example, a document camera. We found that those tools have been integral to the learning process for all teachers, all kids, all subject areas, and so we're grateful for the money that exists to be able to upgrade our technology for next year. And that's it. Mr. Packard?
Thank you. I want to wish Mr. Pear well as he moves on to his next venture in life. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
As for Charlton Middle School, I do want to take an opportunity to thank my staff and my school council for putting a lot of thought and effort into creating what I consider a school improvement plan that encompasses high-quality education with a lot of opportunities for children. First area that I'm really proud of this year is that my staff continuously strives to improve upon their teaching within our school. The growth of interdisciplinary planning, collaboration through Google Docs, and sharing of best practices is always at a focal point of what we do. In addition, this year we unrolled learning walks throughout our school where teachers had an opportunity to break down the walls of traditional classroom teaching and get out and see what other colleagues are doing. And with that being said, post them on a Google Doc where they could see positive remarks of what's taken place in each class. So the Google Suite that we're using at this point in time has proved instrumental for the growth of seeing what goes on in other teachers' classrooms. I also want to mention our school mentoring program during our advisory block that we created this year, a 20-minute block where We had 7th and 8th grade students working with the 5th and 6th graders at the end of the day at 1:50. It was like a stop and drop. They would go over and they would help out the teachers, whether it be academic help or whether it be social help, opportunity just to have discussions with one another, almost big brother, big sister type. It really, really took off, and it really went well, and there's some areas there that we're going to tweak and continue to build upon. But it was a great school-wide climate opportunity for us, and more importantly, to have the 7th and 8th graders gain a little bit of that momentum and leadership that we're always looking to provide for kids. So we are going to build upon that. Additionally, I just want to make mention of the fact of our school-wide Twitter and our school-wide YouTube channel. We have over 28,000 views, and it's probably because of those two, how do I want to call these guys? Those two guys who go on the middle years, and they kind of talk about what's going on, and Mr. Olson and I have a great time with that. We are looking to hand over the baton to some willing and eager students who will be taking that from us. And we'll be talking about that in our next episode coming up on June 16th, if we can get that out of the gate on time. But nevertheless, it's been a lot of fun just marketing what takes place in the school.
Set your DVRs, June 16th. Everybody got that?
On YouTube only.
Oh.
It's all good. But in addition to that, I just want to make reference of Google Classroom, teachers using that to enhance the learning that's taking place, the Google Docs that are using with communication between home and parents, home and school, and student emails. All this stuff is very important as we bring the community into the classroom and make that learning more meaningful for all parties. I also want to make reference to the fact of the other part was the coffee and conversation that we did 4 times this year. Each time we had a coffee and conversation, we'd have parents come in and we'd talk about events and things that are happening in our school or issues that are coming up. This past coffee and conversation was the most passionate discussion we had, and I was very happy to see that transpire. But I'm looking forward to next year of working with Mrs. Pastore and Mrs. Pacheco to make that coffee and conversation all-encompassing of all the schools, so parents can have a one platform to be able to express where their children are at and potential school issues. And Mrs. Pastore, yes, I've already talked to her about it. Mrs. Pacheco, I haven't, so that's going to be coming your way because it's part of one of my professional practice goals. Nevertheless, initiatives that we want to focus on for next year is we want to continue to expand curriculum options to further challenge all types of learners, but not limited to not limited to just, I want to look at gifted and talented as well as support for students at all areas where there may be some struggles. I want to do this through staff surveys and parent surveys so we can make sure that we get feedback on all the things that we do provide to enhance the current curriculum that we have. Additionally, I want to build upon our project-based learning opportunities through our STEM classes. Mrs. Frederico, Ms. Garcia has done an amazing job at this point in time. They're building a curriculum from scratch. The kids are having a blast with hands-on learning, inquiry-based learning. Every time I go down there, there's something new, and I see a different smile on a different child every single day. So it's definitely something that we're building. Also, I want to create more areas of focus for the foreign language through Rosetta Stone with the use of exploratory classes so we can offer world languages. Also, we want to continue to support and foster programs to provide mental health support for students and families on an as-need basis. We do have a great alliance at this point with Harrington Hospital, who has come in and provided services for us, our families, and our students. And finally, I just want to reach out and do more community-based projects to enhance the partnerships and connections between school and community.
Thank you. Any questions? Very
It's a busy place.
Both
schools.
Both
schools.
Both schools. Thank you.
Page 12, that picture, I was having a good time. I just want to let you know. I didn't know how they snuck that in there, but I should have edited it.
I like the flag they got.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chaplin.
I want to go first next year. If we
Yeah,
can.
okay.
Mix it up a little bit.
We'll mix it up.
I'm going to make a note of that right now. Hopefully I'll look at it next year at this time.
So I'm just going to kind of give you the balcony view of each of the goals, highlights for this year into next year. Goal number 1 for communication, community engagement, and partnerships. You know, we've really tried to expand the theme of expanding our footprint at Quinsigamond Community College this year. We've offered 2 classes in the building where students have the opportunity to have 3 credits when they leave the class, which has been outstanding. as well as Nichols. We have several Nichols courses that students can take throughout the year, whether in a certificate program or not, and we want to continue to expand that. I was meeting with Nichols today, as a matter of fact, to look at how we can develop some blended learning for next year, because there's a lot of kids that are busy after school and they really can't take that college course when they offer it. So we're working together to develop a blended learning program where maybe they only meet 3 or 4 times during the semester, and the rest of it is online, which really is modeling what happens in college anyways. So I'm looking forward to what we're doing now and expanding that into next year in terms of the blended learning experience. We're already developing courses in sports management, criminal justice, being able to go and sit in on their psychology classes when they do their fish bowls around processes and so forth. So those are easy things that we're going to do. As well as highlight this year, we've been on many field. I'm not even going to call them field trips. They're learning experiences in the community where we polled the students, and we've been to Worcester House of Correction, we've been to Lincoln Tech, and Universal Technical Institute, where really a lot of the trips were driven by student voice, and many of those students ended up going there. When they left here. So we definitely want to continue to expand those, expanding Rosetta Stone and Capstone projects, as well as this goal talks about engaging the community. We're going to continue to do that, but we also want to engage both middle schools. And there's no better example than our Envirothon team, who have been really throughout the year doing an unbelievable job. Going and they've been partnering with the park rangers at Buffinville Forest. They've been GPSing the forest. They've been analyzing soil there. They've been looking at insect populations that are there. I'm always going to them and saying, "What can you do about the caterpillars that are in my yard?" Because but they have answers for me. I don't know what I can't follow through on it, but what they've started to do, where wonderful experiences where they go and compete about 8 times a year at UMass and so forth against other Envirothon teams around soil analysis, physical and chemical issues in the soil. Water quality, all those things. So what they just started to do is they most recently went to Charlton Middle School after school and work with their science club. So next year we're definitely going to be expanding that, going to Dudley Middle School, and all the stuff that group is doing is going to really model that in both middle schools. Hopefully, because the teacher is so passionate about that, will maybe light a fire for some of the middle school students to come up and do that. So that's really the biggest highlight in that goal, as well as the parent and student portal. We talked about that a little bit during the other discussion, but parents do use the portal here, and we really want students to use it more, and we've had an increase in student use over the past year, which has been wonderful in terms of immediate feedback in terms of their coursework. Jump in if you have questions, because I'm going to fly through this. Goal 2, which is climate and culture. We're really looking at this year. Some of the highlights have been. We've had a team of students that went out and got trained in the Game Changer through an initiative through Northeastern Sports Society and the New England Patriots to talk about domestic violence. And they've been trained throughout this year, and they're going to be expanding that into the middle schools, using our advisory as well here to talk about some of those difficult conversations that kids might experience themselves or see on TV and so forth. So that'll definitely continue into the next year. Around climate, culture, and civility. We've changed. This year we did a 1 read, where summer reading was 1 book that they chose from. This year, after a lot of discussion, it's really going to be student driven. They have probably 30 choices to make, and we're modeling that where teachers are picking a book too, and we're posting it on our doors, and maybe some.
That's them right there. Some of the teachers selected.
Some of the teachers did do that, and the teachers are posting on the door saying, Mr. Chaplin is reading that. I'm actually reading Am I Being Kind? Many kids think I'm not being kind, but I'm going to read that book and talk about that. So if kids see that we're all reading it too, when they come back, hopefully we can get some groups together to talk about what the staff read and model that love of reading, which is really the goal of that. our DC Votes initiative was outstanding throughout the district, but here it really took charge, and it was really a great experience for kids in terms of the voting process, both in the community and locally. And next year we're gonna continue to explore having a model UN club and develop that. And really, it's such an important skill in the world today. As well as at Nichols today, I learned that they're offering a course on Monday afternoons that we would be available to go to, that Senator Fatman teaches around politics starts in the community. Him and one of the instructors teach that every Monday afternoon. So that's something that we definitely want to continue to expand on as well in terms of culture, climate, and civility. We're also doing a pilot project next year around academic mentors, capturing some of those kids that are really at risk of failure and attaching them to an adult in the building and helping create that connection and helping them see what they can do to shift in terms of to reduce their risk of academic failure. Lastly, in Goal 2, we're going to be exploring and talking about coming up with a unified sports team at Shepherd Hill. Other than Special Olympics, this is different. A unified team is a team made up of kids with disabilities and without disabilities, and they practice together and they compete against other unified teams throughout the Midwalk if they have any. But I do know where I came from, there was probably 5 or 6 unified teams that they have. Generally it's track, but they've done other sports as well, so that's something that we're excited about as well. The other thing that one of the goals from Goal 1 is we really wanted to expand our alumni network. I mean, it's really scattered right now, and we're trying to kind of expand that database of when 290 graduates just graduated. We want to be able to track them a little bit, and we're going to explore how we can do that. One of the goals that we're going to be doing is getting a committee for having a Hall of Fame, both athletic and performing arts Hall of Fame. So we're really going to talk about that over the next year, and hopefully by September of next year we'll be announcing the first inductees and then inducting them right before the Thanksgiving Day game as part of a kind of a ritual. So that'll help us connect with our alumni, but also looking at other areas, how we can develop a database, a social media page, because great things happen when people leave here. We want to be able to track that a little better. Goal 3, curriculum instruction and assessment. Some of the highlights from this year, one of the committees really explored virtual high school. We're going to be implementing that next year. We were able to get a lot more spots throughout the year and seats throughout the year because one of our teachers volunteered to teach a virtual high school class, which really reduced the cost, which really was helpful. So we're going to do that throughout the year. Hopefully that can expand to enrich some of the middle school as well over the next year after that. We have the Project Lead the Way grant, where we're going to be starting a biomedical track within our sciences next year. So we're really looking to expand that as well within the curriculum. But another highlight from this year and this year's improvement plan was our literacy committee that met 7 through 12. Really doing great work. They'll continue to kind of vertically align that. I'd love to see that expand to other departments as well within the secondary, middle school, and high school. The other last thing is we're really exploring doing some hands-on, project-based, student-driven initiatives next year that feed into the curriculum. One example is building a school store and having the accounting and business department run it, and the students manage it. So all the inventory, every aspect of running a business, they would get hands-on experience doing. So we're really excited about doing that, as well as continuing to expand our offerings for students to leave here with college credit. I think that's it.
It's an exciting place.
Thank you.
Just want to add that the accounting classes are also going to find a way to find startup capital for that store, right?
As well as help with the budget subcommittee and several other things.
Thank you, Mr. Chaplin.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you, Bill.
Next on the agenda, Director of Finance and Operations update, Mr. Matthew.
Thank you very much. I do have a couple of donations for the committee to consider this evening. The Shepherd Hill Regional High School has received donated art supplies from the Youth Art Month group. The listing is in back of the memo that you received. Additionally, the Shepherd Hill Regional High School has received a donation of $45.98 from the Stop and Shop Reward Program. The Charlton Elementary School received a donation of $824.06 from the Charlton PTO for the cost of busing for the grade 1 field trip to Davis Farmland. And additionally, the district has received a donation from both the Charlton PTO and the Dudley PTO in the amounts of $325 each for the purchase of alternative seating equipment requested by district occupational therapists.
And I'll entertain a motion to accept the donations that Mr. Matthew has read to us. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. It's unanimous.
Thank you very much. Just a brief update on the Health Insurance Trust Fund as we start to wind down the year. I'm trying to not jinx anything, as we do still have many days left in the fiscal year. But
You should stop now then.
so that's my update on the Health Insurance Trust Fund. Please stay tuned for further information. It is there in writing.
It sounds good anyway.
Well, let's hope. We do have 4 French River Educational Collaborative bids this evening. You should have memos in front of you indicating the winners. I have the detailed bid information here if anybody wants to take a look at it. For the FREC copy paper bid, there were we bid this out in 2 ways, with 1 location and multiple locations. And you can see the winners there, WB Mason for the 1 location and Contract Paper Group for the multiple locations. Last year, we did take advantage of both aspects of this, and it was while the paper itself cost a little bit more, the 3 days of manpower not used by the multiple location drop certainly made up for that price difference, and I would recommend that we'll probably do that again this year, assuming that the bidding companies allow us to do that. We do have the French River Education Collaborative Bread and Rolls bid, won by Duva Distributors. We have the FREC Milk bid, won by Maine's Paper and Food Service. And the Market Basket Frozen Foods bid, won by Thurston Foods. I don't know if anybody has any specific questions on any of these.
Just on the non-paper bids, were these prices much higher, much lower?
They came in pretty standard to last year. You know, there's a 1% increase here, 2% increase there, but nothing dramatic.
Nothing where we need to look at milk prices or?
No, I think we're good for next year.
Thank you.
On the ones for Mason, and although it was like 6.3% decrease, what does that translate into about money? Can you give an estimate of that?
We order approximately 840 cases.
Is that a unit?
Yeah, this price is a unit price. So, let me get back to you with an exact number.
About 5,000?
What's up?
About 5,000?
Let me get back to you with an exact number.
I'm just saying, is that money that will be extra next year, like in reserves then, because we have budgeted, you budgeted for the last year's figures?
You kind of base your budget on previous prices, so
Right,
yeah,
so
that would make
save money
sense
for
that we'll
next
be
year.
able to get a little bit more in terms of school
Okay.
supplies.
That's all I wanted to know, so
Okay.
if we had planned for the higher, so we're making out on the deal, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. You don't have to give me the number, that's fine.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the copy paper bid put forth by Mr. Matthew.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, any more discussion on it? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries, it's unanimous. And then the bread and rolls bid, that was set forth by Mr. Matthew.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries. Then we have the milk bid.
So moved.
Any more discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous, motion carries. And last is the Market Basket Frozen Foods bid.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? None? All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, let's get that.
Thank you very much. We will have the rest of the FREC bids for the next school committee meeting, as well as the school supply bids. And then just a quick note on year end. One of the priorities for me at the end of this year is to purchase replacement copiers. At this time, I think the dollars indicate that I'm able to replace the 4 to 5 oldest machines in the district. But as we move forward, I think this is one of those items that really should be built into the budget. We have about 22 copiers in the district, and you know, they don't get destroyed by the end of year 3, but they certainly get really, really tired by the end of year 4. So, you know, rather than giving them up right at year 3, I have been putting them on, you know, the practice last year was to put them on a service contract for an additional year, but that is something that we will need to start including as part of the budget rather than doing it as money allows.
Are these something that we could lease?
You can, but you end up paying more,
Okay.
and you don't have the opportunity to sell them at the end. So yes, while there's a budget, an initial budget savings, given the size of the district, we're better served to actually purchase these. Other end-of-year expenses that we anticipate taking care of, as mentioned before, was the repairs to the exhaust fans at Mason Road School. And one of the items that I want to take a close look at is the purchasing of additional maintenance equipment to increase efficiency here at the high school, specifically a new auto scrubber, maybe one of the ride-on models if it's something that we can use on all 3 floors here. Just with the loss of one person with the budget reduction, I think this is a good investment for the school. Again, the goal for closing out the year end is to try to return as much money as we've taken from E&D to support the budget, and my projections right now show us coming up a little bit short of that, but nothing dramatic yet, but I'll certainly keep you guys apprised.
Did we vote on those donations? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We did.
Except for that one.
And you voted for it.
That's what you say, so.
That's all.
Check the tape.
That's all I have for this evening, and just a reminder, at the next meeting, I should have results of our IT lease procurement.
So that concludes
Thank you
the
very much.
report. Thank you. Report of the Budget and Finance Subcommittee, but there wasn't any, right? I think Mr. Desto has something to say on that.
I just have a very, very quick update, and it's really not, it's budget related, but it's not necessarily related to Budget and Finance Subcommittee, and that is this. We, Mrs. Rabbit, Mr. Matthew, and I all attended an end-of-year report training last week. Secretly, one of my reasons to attend is I knew Mark Abrams was going to be there. He's a very knowledgeable guy. He has been commissioned by the town of Charlton to put together a very thorough report of how the school district is funded and how the town is funded and so on and so forth. So after the meeting, Mr. Matthew and I were able to schedule a private meeting with Mr. Abrams, and we're going to have that meeting very shortly. Once we do, I think what we need to start thinking about as a group is between his report that we're going to have to get together with the town of Charlton to hear out, the report that we have commissioned from the Mass Association of Regional Schools on our member towns and how they're funded, what their financial situations are. That's going to give us, that combined with what we already know and what we've already experienced over the years, is going to give us a lot more information than what we've had before going into what we know is going to be a really important year. So what I'm really saying is I think that sometime within the next month or so, there's going to have to be a time that we get together with the town folks to discuss just those reports, if nothing else. From there, we've got to think as a district about what our needs are going to be, how we want to approach this override next year, numbers-wise. And Rich and I are thinking that with help from the school committee, by the end of the summer, we're going to have a sense of what the numbers are going to need to look like, and those reports are going to help us put that together. That doesn't mean that we're 100% ready to go by September 1st. What it means is that we're working on it throughout the summer, and the vision is starting to come together. and then we hit the ground running when the school year starts. But I guess my point here is just to report that there will be some times very soon that I'm going to be reaching out to the committee and asking for some, some help in meeting with the towns about these kinds of things, because I do think we're going to need to do that well before summer's over. I think that's going to be absolutely necessary. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you, Elaine, for attending.
Oh, my pleasure. I was an outlier. I was the only school committee person there.
Ooh.
And it's supposed to be school committee training.
There might have been one other, but I don't know.
They might not have wanted to identify themselves.
They were with, yeah, maybe not.
Okay, next on the agenda is, and this is the second reading and the adoption to amend policy IJNDBA. So first, I'm going to entertain a motion to waive the reading of the policy.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. And now I'll entertain a motion for our second reading and adoption of policy IJNDBA.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
And selection of delegate MASC/MASS joint conference, so we can select someone, whoever people know who are going so far.
That's the first thing.
Mary, you're going to be going again? Elaine?
I think so.
Okay, so
Stephanie, too.
Stephanie?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But Mary, do you want to be a delegate, or Elaine, or whoever?
I'm fine with it.
You're fine with it? Okay.
Mrs. O'Coin, if I may, just to say that we have until July 15th to get the best rate. So we do have one more meeting before, if people want to give it some thought. And then at the next meeting, we can determine who definitely wants to go so that we can work on the PO.
Yeah.
And then as far as the delegate, I don't know if you want to do that now or later.
Mary to be delegate to the conference this fall.
Second.
Uh-oh.
Any discussion?
I know Mary did it this year before.
Seeing none, all in favor? Mary, you've got it.
All right.
You do such a great job with the reports.
Consideration to approve leave of absence, Mr. Desto.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Coin. So, as I indicated in your packet, I have a request from our district behavior specialist to take a leave of absence for 1 year from that position in order to transition to becoming the substantially separate program teacher at Mason Road School. As you might recall, we have currently 2 substantially separate program classrooms at Heritage School. One of them is going to be at Mason Road due to the shift in student enrollment. So the principals, Mrs. O'Brien and I, believe that this is going to be in the district's best interest, because we believe that this person is going to be an excellent teacher to start the program at Mason Road. His experience is going to be invaluable to the students and staff as we try to get this program off the ground. And as we think about now having to, if this is approved, we will have to post his position as a 1-year opening as a behavior specialist. I am told, I haven't experienced it myself, that those positions are a little bit easier to, there are a little bit more candidates out there in that role than there are as substantially separate classroom teachers, particularly for pre-K to grade 1. Very difficult to find, so we believe that this is the right thing to do, and I recommend approval of this leave of absence.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the leave of absence.
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
I just have, why isn't it just a plain transfer, like from going from grade? Are they both, is it both district jobs? I mean, it's not an outside collaborative.
No, they are, and I thought a lot about that.
Yeah, why would we just transfer?
Because I think what it is that if things change, we want to make sure that he can go back to the behavior specialist position, because this is a pretty high-quality person. And there is a thing in the teacher's contract that says that the school committee may approve, essentially it says other leaves of absence. So I believe it's doable, and I'm told that it's been done in the past, but it is a little non-traditional.
Yeah, because he's still, I don't understand it myself. I'm not against it, but if I switch from 7th grade to 8th grade, I'm not getting any more money, I'm just changing my position.
The difference is in the security that this person would have if, let's say the enrollment shifts again, and we don't have the program there next year, or it's determined that it's better off to work, it works better the other way, that he would be able to go back into
But he'd
that
have
role.
seniority anyways, wouldn't he? He could
Right,
rip the
but-
first guy.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
care, I just wonder, it
Yeah,
seems
no.
confusing.
It is a little confusing.
because
That's
I
why
don't see
it
why-
seems that way.
well, it doesn't
But
matter.
essentially, the reason for the leave of absence is the security that he could go back into the behavior specialist
Mhm.
position. That's the only difference between that and a transfer.
Whatever. I don't get it, but that's okay. Well, no, because he's still an employee. You can put him wherever you want. You could transfer him back next year.
We could, but
An
if-
involuntary transfer, even if you had to.
but we don't have the same kind of like bumping things unless it's a layoff, as we have. as they have
I was
in a
just
lot of
wondering
districts.
why, that's, I'm not making a big, I just
Well,
wondered why.
don't you have somebody switching to, that you told me, like in guidance, they're going to switch, one's going
Yes.
to middle school, the
Yes.
other? What's different?
They want to do it permanently.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and
I was
so
going to
that-
say, what's
right.
the difference?
That's the only
Because then
difference.
they would need the same leave of absence
Correct.
if they want to go
Yeah.
back to theirs.
Right, but that's not the case there.
So should year one end and he stays in that position, does he have to take another leave
No,
of
well, he
absence?
could apply for it, but I would not recommend
'Cause that, I mean, that doesn't, I guess that's what doesn't make sense to me is that
No, I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, as looking forward, I would say that if the choice is to stay in that position, then he stays in that position, and then the other position becomes a permanent one.
He probably just wants a guarantee that
Pretty
he's
much.
going back to his same position if this doesn't work out.
Essentially, that's it.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Consideration of meeting dates for July and August. We only meet one time in July and once in August, so anybody have any ideas what they'd like and what vacations they're taking?
If we go by what we've done traditionally, we would meet, I think, on July 12th and August 16th.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
I can do those dates. I can do the 12th. What was the other one?
August 16th.
I'll be away August 16th.
How about, Mary's going to be away that week, Mary?
Yeah, I'm here the 23rd.
Okay, either the 9th or the 23rd, how's that?
You're talking about August now?
I'd rather do the
Yeah.
9th.
You rather do the 9th? You rather do the 9th?
I'd rather do the 9th.
How about, it doesn't matter to me, so, whatever the...
We could meet and have a party.
The
The 23rd.
But someone can't make the
I can't do
23rd.
the 23rd.
It doesn't have to be on a
Really?
Wednesday.
I'd rather not do the 23rd.
The only question is that too much of a wait between the next, like August and
Right,
the school? Is
because
that a big-
school will be. How about you, Ray? You prefer
it
anything?
doesn't matter.
I'm just thinking of in terms of,
Anything
when you
but
have
a
anything
Wednesday.
new in August.
Anything but a Wednesday?
No.
Oh, okay.
My question, because you have the week off, the week after July 12th, isn't that shutdown week somewhere along
The
there?
24th, the week of the 24th,
So will
this
there
week
be,
is
if
shut
you go
down.
August 9th, is there much to discuss?
There
That's what I'm
shouldn't be
saying.
much.
That's what I'm saying, so is it worth
Think we should
having
go
it then?
later?
Well, they
in
can't make
August?
the 23rd though, unless it's a different day of the week.
What about, right, that's what I was going to suggest.
But
'cause
Elaine can't make it.
Is it
That's
the whole
all right, you
week?
can meet
No, but is it the whole week or just the
I'm
12th?
gone the whole week.
Oh, the whole week, well, then that's
So,
also.
no. But from the 12th to the 9th, that's a long time. I
One of
know.
those weeks they're closed and nothing's
One
going to
week,
happen.
yes, yeah.
There's not going to be
The
much to
9th is
discuss.
a day that we have the 8th and the 9th set aside for the administrative
Oh, yeah, that's right.
retreat, quote
Oh, that's
unquote. So
right.
we would prefer not to do the 9th because we're working that night on something else. But if we
Yeah.
had to, we'll adjust.
Well, we're never going to agree with everyone, so why is it the 16th?
You can meet on the 23rd.
You want to Skype in, Mary?
Or you don't want to meet at
Sure. We didn't vote on that. We voted against that.
You can't go nah.
I can make faces from wherever I am.
Is it the 16th?
16th.
I think the 16th, because that's usually the week we meet. Isn't it usually that week?
Yeah,
Why?
that's what he said.
Well, not everyone's going to make anything.
Right.
You can eat.
I'll
on
tell
the
you,
16th.
it doesn't matter to me because I can make
Me neither,
it.
but I'm just thinking, I think the 9th would be a waste, first of all, plus you're not available, basically.
We'd prefer this not to do it.
16th?
Move on.
See, the 16th or
16th.
23rd, we'll flip a coin.
16th.
16th?
Yeah, you
16th.
can.
I'd rather the 16th.
And that's two, so 16th.
Oh, and, okay, 16th.
FaceTime.
She can't, you can pass that call.
That's what I said, we voted that down.
Could she FaceTime but just not vote? I'm just
She
kidding.
can FaceTime all she wants.
less things I
Okay,
want to do.
so
for
it's the
vacation.
9th and the 16th.
No, the 12th.
I think the
July 12th and
12th,
16th.
sorry. The
Got us
12th.
confused, Pauline.
Yeah, the 12th and
The
the 16th, okay?
Yep.
Everybody in agreement?
Yeah, so the July at Shepherd Hill and August at Charlton Middle, is that how we normally do it, right? Okay.
Right.
July, Shepherd Hill, and
16th in Charlton.
Okay, our next meeting dates, regular meeting, Wednesday, June 28th, and it will be at the Charlton Middle School, and then we just picked out our July and August dates.
Do you have any plans of putting the budget and subcommittee together?
I hope so. I'm going to see what happens tomorrow, and then I do think that's going to be necessary.
Future agenda items, FY 2018 budget, superintendent's evaluation. Anyone want to add anything to it?
Two things. First, I am looking to have a discussion about our school committee meetings and their availability to the residents of Charlton. The Charlton website is not working, and for those families that do not have cable access, there is not a consistent venue for seeing the meetings broadcast, and I had mentioned to Mr. Desto the possibility of whether or not we could, on our own website, put up our meeting broadcasts for the residents of Charlton or do YouTube. But if we're moving forward in the direction that you're looking to move forward, I think it's going to be important that we're making sure that all of the residents in both towns are equally informed to our discussions that we're having as we're talking about budgets. But unless you're a cable customer in Charlton, the availability of seeing meetings broadcast on a regular basis is extremely inconsistent.
In Dudley, we do see ours.
Right.
I think you could probably talk to Drew, who's on that cable committee, and get a copy of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any reason why we can't put it on our
I
website.
don't see what we
Correct.
did.
Yeah, we can easily
Yeah, I
do
think
that.
the reporter from Webster Times says he doesn't get those fast.
No.
Did we ask him those? He said he gets them,
I
I
don't
saw him
remember
someplace,
asking.
but he said they get them very late. I don't know who sends it to him or what, how he gets them, but he says they're quite late when he gets them. The
Okay.
tape, I don't know who does that.
So I did talk to Drew at town meeting, because the TV Charlton station you used to be able to go onto the computer and load them on the computer and watch them. You can't do that anymore. It's been broken since last summer. And it's whether or not they end up on the YouTube channel, but they're not consistently on the YouTube channel either, because the finance board meetings and such prior to, the we had gone to were not broadcast before town meeting. So I think it's important, and Mr. Earl is recording for us, that we take care of making sure that we're doing our end with our information out to the public.
So
That
you can
would
look
be
into it and see what we're going to do.
what we can do.
at Charlton.
I'll have an answer for next week.
Okay.
Okay.
The second one, and it was just an observation in our school improvement plans, that our strategic plan dates are from 2014 to 2017. So at some point in time, that needs to be on our conversation for our next school year. And just a question, if you can find out for me, in the school improvement plans, we had a lot of conversation about various entities that are coming in to work with our students, be it mentors, big brothers, big sisters, college students, whatever. Are we making sure that all of these individuals coming into the school are Cory checked?
I can tell you that they very likely have to be to work for the organizations they work for.
But I'm thinking like
Yeah.
college students, if we're
Yeah.
asking, community members to come in and volunteer, we should all have them Cory checked.
Anything else? Okay. At this time, we will enter into an executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation or collective bargaining if an open session may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body. We will reconvene, take votes if necessary, and adjourn. I will take a roll call, Joe.
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Ray? Yes. 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 Okay, we are now in executive session.